All right, guys, welcome to Press X Podcast, episode, I think, what is this, 81? I always lose track every week. 81, episode 81. Thank you guys so much for being here with me and waiting patiently. As always, with the credit roll, big shout out to my members, as always. We certainly have some interesting topics that we're going to be covering in this episode of the podcast. If you look in the description or at the title, or if you follow me on Twitter, you have a pretty good idea of some of the topics that we're going to be covering in this video today, or in this podcast. It's not a video. Sometimes I get confused. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let me see. So I guess just to get some things out of the way before we dive into these topics, I always try to give it a little bit of time here, let people file in. I try not to dive in head first when it comes to topics, because I know that for some people, they show up just a little bit later. Try to readjust my mic here a little bit. But we're going to be talking about, obviously, PlayStation, Xbox will be part of the conversation over the course of this podcast. I know that to some people that might be like, whoa, MBG, you can't talk about Xbox, man. But it's actually it's pretty good news, I'd say. I think it's good news. We're going to be saying good things about Xbox. When we do talk about Xbox and Xbox Game Studios, it's going to, again, be a positive conversation, but I do think that I do need to clear some things up. I think maybe misconception that, in regards to some things I said. MBG working out at the gym, showing his results. I mean, I have been working out, dude. I've been working out at home, and to be completely honest, it's been it hasn't been ideal, Like I want to start going back to the gym again. Just my situation right now makes it harder to do so. But I have been working out at home, and I've been using mostly lightweight, man. I mean, truly, I've been using lightweight, and I've actually been dropping weight. I've lost a little bit of weight. I think some of that is muscle, some of it's fat as well. But I'm trying to maintain a healthy physique. I don't really care so much about getting bigger or anything like that anymore. I mean, obviously it would be nice, but it's more about just having a healthy body, healthy physique, a healthy body composition, I guess. Lightweight buddy. Yeah. I'm going to be the opposite of Ronnie Coleman. Lightweight buddy. Get like Kratos. Yeah. That's what's so funny, man, is you see characters like Kratos and, or like characters in fighting games. You know how it's always the conversation about like, well, we can't overexpose the, female characters in games because it might make the female audience feel a little bit self-conscious, like, and create unrealistic standards. And I'm over here like, have you seen the dudes? I'm like, these guys are shredded, man. These guys are roided out. It's just as bad. So do I think that Hogwarts Legacy will be at the new State of Play? We'll talk about that. So, yeah, we're gonna. Oh, and just to be clear, I'm not sitting here saying that, they should make Kratos skinnier or less buff. I don't think so at all. I mean, it's appropriate, right? I think it's appropriate depending on the circumstances. I mean, he's a god. He's a literal god. So, I mean, part of that is you're buff all the time, and you don't have to do much to maintain it, right? Although, if you look at the way Kratos, the way he's lived thus far, I think it makes sense that he's going to be pretty jacked, right? So, Kratos eats green berets for breakfast. Okay. All right. So before we dive into the topics, all right, I want to, again, just do a little bit of house cleaning here. First of all, thank you guys for being here live. It's been somewhat quiet this month. October's been a relatively quiet month. There's not a whole lot going on So, for those of you who are showing up each week or who are watching the podcast once it's finished live, I really do sincerely appreciate the support. And so if you want to help continue support the channel, obviously just watch the content, leave a like on the podcast, leave a like on the videos, share them out. Yeah, I know that was a Commando reference. Yeah, great movie. Commando, great movie. But other ways you can help support the podcast as well as support my channel and the content that I create here, you can donate a super chat during streams like this or anytime I'm live, and I'll read them. You can become a channel member, so that's another way to help directly support the content I do here. And so, speaking of channel members, I'm going to give my weekly shout outs. So we have the Play Has No Limits Plus tier. This is the highest tier that I offer with my membership. And this is for anybody who just really on a monthly basis wants to donate a pretty significant amount to my channel and help keep it going here. So big thank you and big shout out to Junior Jackson, Samuel Payne, Josh Z, Agile Ice 24, Anthony Ramos, Skin Tight Salmon, PlayStation Pete, RU46N2 Ray, iSiler 18, Chlorian A, and Whiskey Gaming. Thank you guys so much for being members at the highest tier. We also have the Play Has No Limits tier. This is the second highest tier I offer, and quite a few people support me on this tier. So big shout out to Avengers Endgame, John Renzi, Black Waifus, Adrian D, AWS Asher, Zanarkand Blitzer, Ivanoa Kachofel, Space Gambler Jr., AJ Saeed, Rune Gasodin, JDTV, Quantum Stardust, Sir Speaks a Lot, Ashorty Faye, Ryan Butcher, Big Norman 0518, Shaky Shako, Tyson Webb 509, Black Manta 1989, Sayin JT, Brandon Chad Perez, and Adrian Lupton. Once again, can't say it enough. Thank you guys so much. I do appreciate your continued support here on the channel. So with that out of the way, we are going to dive into our topics. And the first topic we're going to discuss has to do with Sony not being done with 2021 yet. I felt the need to title this podcast in such a way because I really did not expect Sony to do much more for the remainder of 2021, let alone a state of play. Now, we know the state of play is not focused on PlayStation Studios. It's focused specifically on third-party games. They do seem to be alluding to some type of announcement we may expect to see for like a new big third-party game. It's also worth noting that during the, it's not during, but on the PlayStation blog that was written up by Sid Schumann, they're always giving us expectations, letting us know what to expect. They say, hey, we're going to be showing you third-party games, but they don't say anything about indie games. And I thought that that was noteworthy because usually when Sony lets us know about what to expect with these state of plays, it seems that they are always keen to let us know when indies will be part of it. Now, I don't know if it's just supposed to be assumed right now that we will see third-party indie games. But again, Sony usually does put an emphasis on that when there is a fair amount of indies. It's only going to be about 20 minutes. And so, again, as I said, it was kind of surprising to me that Sony announced this because I saw a lot of people, they were kind of expressing disappointment already, which I get it. You hear about a state of play and it just seems like the PlayStation fan base were kind of conditioned, and you can't blame people for feeling this way, but we're kind of conditioned when it comes to PlayStation to always expect big and exciting things because that is what PlayStation excels at, right? They're very good at showing big, exciting things and just getting people, hyped for those big event like announcements. Or aka Mr. Hamster saying, hey, what's up, MBG? Have a good day. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, buddy. It's always nice to see you popping in. I hope you have a good day too. Hope everybody listening to this has a good day. I feel like I don't say that enough, right? Like I feel like I don't say to people who are tuning in live or to my audience, like, I hope everybody's doing well, hope everybody's having a good day. I should get better at that because I feel like it's a polite thing to do. People are always saying that to me. They're always like, "Hey, MBG, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good day. I hope things are going well for you." And so I hope the same for everybody else. But yeah, some people are feeling a little bit let down where they're like, well, I was excited for the State of Play announcement until I found out that PlayStation Studios isn't going to be involved. But I think that there's a good chance there will be something here, or at least a decent chance. I don't know if I should say a good chance, but a decent chance that there will be at least one or two bigger third-party titles that show up that people are excited about, right? We have games like Gotham Knights. We have Final Fantasy 16. I don't know about Final Fantasy 16. I feel like it would be great if Final Fantasy 16 were to be shown off with another new trailer or something like that at this State of Play, but I just don't know the likelihood of that because everything we've heard about not State of Play, about Final Fantasy 16 so far, they seem to very much be making it clear that they're only going to show it off again when they're really ready to show it. Maybe that time is now, maybe not. We don't know. I mean, it's been well over a year, right? It's been well over a year since we've seen it, I believe. So maybe now the time is right to show off another trailer. Black Manta 1989, you're saying, I swear if I see anything GTA or COD Vanguard related on Wednesday, I'm going to be really disappointed. However, not surprised, LOL. I feel you there, buddy. I feel you there. If I had to choose between GTA and Call of Duty, I would rather see GTA only because there's the slim chance we might see something regarding the GTA Definitive Trilogy and not necessarily GTA 5 for the PS5. I don't want to see GTA 5 for the PS5. I don't want to see Call of Duty. I think Call of Duty is likely to be there, man. I hope not, but it's only 20 minutes long and it's coming out in 2 weeks, right? It's coming out 2 weeks. Like, come on. We don't need to see it. We just don't need to see it. But as you say, it wouldn't be very surprising. So I'm more focused on the things that maybe people, I don't want to say are not expecting, because I think people are expecting. So somebody asked me earlier, are we going to see Hogwarts Legacy? And dude, I see everybody asking about that game. They're saying Hogwarts Legacy, we need to see it. And what's mind-blowing is you go and look at the first trailer for that game that was shown off at the September 2020 PlayStation Showcase event. 20 million views. 20 million views. That is insane. 25 million, yeah. I guess it's been a while since I've checked up on it. 25 million views. That is insane, dude. So I think it would be very smart of Sony if they're able to get Hogwarts Legacy on this. I think that'll make it an automatic success. But it really does come down to, are they ready to show off another trailer yet? But people are very much hungry for that game. It's interesting talking about Hogwarts Legacy. I'm not a Harry Potter fan. I'm just not. I'm not against it or anything. I don't have a problem with Harry Potter. I just never got into it. But I gotta admit that the game, it's tantalizing. It's interesting. It has this allure to it because it just seems like, is this the dream Harry Potter game that everybody's been waiting for? And it seems like it might be. I think that's why people are so excited about it. And yeah, you're right, Rashdam. Harry Potter has a huge following. Andrew, congratulations on the 5 months. Appreciate that, buddy. You're saying fingers crossed for a Deathloop Accolades trailer. Oh man, dude, that would be incredible. At that point, I would be clapping. I'd be like, this is one of the greatest trolls ever, if they actually managed to pull something like that off. Because I was about to say, there's no way. There's just no way. Deathloop, we're liberated. We don't have to worry about Deathloop showing another trailer. And then you're mentioning an Accolades trailer, and I'm like, wait, that is a possibility. Although I think they already released that trailer. But somebody says Deathloop DLC. I'm going to assume, and I think it's a safe assumption, that Deathloop's not going to be here. Okay. It better not be. Speaking of Deathloop, I did just pick up Deathloop. Got my physical copy of it. I have it installed. I haven't played it yet. The reason being is because I was, as you know, focused on Ghost of Tsushima. I'm happy to report to everybody here, I got 77 trophies out of 77 for Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. And now I'm going to go on my first rant. Although it's not going to be a heated rant. But I have to say it very quickly. It has to be said. So I bought Ghost of Tsushima for PS4. I believe I bought it digitally at the time when it released. Now, when I look back to when Ghost of Tsushima first came out, it was the middle of July, I believe, and things were kind of not chaotic, but man, I was coming off of The Last of Us 2. We were in full swing with the hype of the PS5 and summer events, and I kind of neglected Ghost of Tsushima. I did play it and I did beat it, but I literally just mainlined it. And I don't know why I did that. I think at the time, the game just seemed overwhelming to me. When I started playing, I'm like, this is amazing, but oh my God, there's a lot here. I should probably just play the story. And then I just kind of dropped it after that. And I think I played a little bit of Legends, just a little bit. Now, come the Director's Cut, I bought a physical copy of the Director's Cut because I want to add it to my PS5 collection. Okay. And I thought to myself, I hope I don't regret it, only because I know I own the game and I could just pay for the upgrade, but I want to have that physical copy. So at the very least, I'll get that. But I hope that I can experience this game the right way. And I approached the game totally differently this time. Okay, I went into it as if I never played it before. This is my first time, and I'm like, I don't care how long this takes. And I'm going to take my time. There's no pressure. I'm not rushing anything. I'm just going to enjoy this experience. I'm going to take my good time, and I'm going to enjoy it. And man, it has been extraordinary. I have to tell you guys, I almost feel like my approach to playing video games has been altered at this point because of how I played Ghost of Tsushima. I see some people saying it gets a little bit boring or overrated. I will admit that there is a bit of filler content. There's no denying that. There is a bit of filler content where, yeah, you are doing some things that are, a little bit too repetitious, right? And there are those times where you're kind of just, it's almost like you're crossing things off a list. But I guess it just depends on how you like to enjoy your games. For me, there was something rewarding about looking for every fox den. Yes, I know I'm doing the same thing. I'm finding the foxes, I'm following the foxes, and then I'm, honoring the shrine and rinse and repeat. But, when I got to the final shrine, it was just a great feeling. I don't know why. It's just, it made me feel like, okay, I accomplished this. I did it. Same thing with all the other side stuff. But I just want to say about Ghost of Tsushima, okay, I did not play any of the side content. I did not, I did play some, but I didn't finish them and I didn't see it through. Wow. I gotta say, I am very impressed with Sucker Punch and their ability to craft an amazing mainline story. But I had no idea just how extensive and how robust the side content actually was in terms of side missions, side characters. Also, those times when you're just kind of wandering throughout the world and there's a new mission you pick up just from somebody, a stranger, right? And it takes you on a mission that you didn't even know existed and you didn't think you were going to go on. They did a very good job with that. And so it is a bit grindy. It's certainly grindy, but there's just so many amazing moments. And then I played the Icky expansion and dude, guys, I know I sound like I'm gushing too much, but I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Dude, this is just my personal experience with the Icky expansion. For me, I was not anticipating the emotional depth of that. I don't want to spoil anything, but it explores Jin's past. And for those who don't know, this isn't spoiling anything, but it explores his past with his father specifically. Now, for me, that was a really important thing, man. Like I wasn't expecting it, and I'm like, wow, like this is hitting home for me right now, man. Like, and it was a big deal for me when I was playing it. And I'm like, I can't believe like how much I'm enjoying this, because it was hitting these emotional notes for me that I wasn't anticipating. And I'm like, got it, dude. I got to give it the sucker punch. I really do. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to have that same experience. Again, I think that it was the story that was told in that expansion and the themes it was exploring that for me, again, it really hit home. And it was like, this is this is great. I did not expect this. Not to mention all of the extra content. So anyway, I do apologize. I'm not trying to go on a random Ghost of Tsushima review, but the rant I'm going to go on right now, because I'm gonna get back to the main topic we were discussing, which is the state of play. This is just the nature of these podcasts. It's just me. I'm the only host, so it's gonna kind of go in all these different directions. And I am gonna get to these super chats. Don't worry, guys. Just want to say, there were conversations about whether or not, the director's cut was worth it. And I can only speak for myself. As somebody who did pay full price for the director's cut, I spent 131 hours playing it. I got every single trophy, including trophies for the expansion, trophies for Ghost of Tsushima Legends, worth every single penny. Absolutely every single penny. I'm not saying that as a fanboy, because I know some people are going to take it that way. I'm just simply saying that for me, it was absolutely worth every penny. For other people out there, maybe it wouldn't be. But it was a great time. It was a great experience. And, I'm glad that I bought it. I'm glad that I took my time when playing it, because Ghost of Tsushima is now one of my favorite games ever. It already was, but like after experiencing it this way, it is. So water is wet on MVG's channel. Well, I mean, dude, here's the thing, man. If I didn't enjoy it or I thought that it wasn't worth it, I would tell you. I really would. And I do admit, like, the game gets a bit grindy. If you are trying to do everything in Ghost of Tsushima, you will be grinding. And if you're not a fan of that, or that to you just feels like boring filler content, yeah, then some people are going to feel like, wow, this is kind of boring, But, that's just the pros and cons of every type of game. So anyway, I just wanted to let you guys know about that. And I did pick up Deathloop. Deathloop is the next game I'm going to play. Some people were asking me if I'm going to do like a video review on Ghost of Tsushima, and I think I'm going to. I don't know when I'm going to get around to it, but I do want to do like a, like I finally played Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut type of video, or maybe like brutally honest thoughts, or I don't know, maybe something like, 131 hours later and 77 trophies, 131 hours and 77 trophies later. Here's what I think of, Ghost. I almost said Deathloop. Ghost of Tsushima. So Jin Sakai is a PlayStation mascot. Absolutely, man. Really, dude. All right, enough gushing over Ghost of Tsushima. Circling back around, let me get to these super chats. iSiler18, you're saying, hopefully we see a Deathloop accolades trailer. Yeah, New Soul 9, you're saying, just because you always expect something big, that doesn't 100% guarantee it's consistent all the time. Stuff happens sometimes. You're absolutely right, man. I think it is a bad idea, I think, to go into state of plays specifically expecting something big. I think it's totally fair to go into any normal event that PlayStation's going to have expecting some big things. But when it comes to state of plays, you have to know that that's not where Sony reveals the big stuff. And if they do reveal anything that's a little bit bigger than maybe you were expecting, hey, that's great. It's a surprise, right? So, let me see. Young G, you're saying, I have been hearing rumors about a showcase in December. Do you believe it will happen? Man, it's tough to say. I want to say no. And I know that sounds disappointing, but maybe because when you look around, I know that you've been saying you've been hearing rumors. The only rumor that I recall hearing, a new event in December or a PlayStation experience, that's pretty much the only rumor I recall coming across is on Reddit. Somebody who I don't know if they even had a good track record, but they correctly said that Housemarque was going to get purchased, and Housemarque did get purchased. This individual on Reddit then went on to say that Sony's building a new AAA studio in Japan, which would be awesome if it's true, but we don't know. And that they are bringing back PlayStation Experience. That's where they plan to reveal the studio as well as the game. To me, that sounds too good to be true, and I don't want to just blindly believe that. The PlayStation Experience was trademarked this year. That's not necessarily an indication that we're going to get one, but if you were to ask me, what am I leaning towards? I'm leaning towards we're not going to get a PlayStation Experience, that we're not going to get a December event. As much as I want one, as much as I think it would be awesome, I really do think that PlayStation is mainly going to focus on the Game Awards if they have anything of significance to reveal. I'd love to be wrong, dude. I think it would be great for PlayStation Experience to return, or for Sony to have just an end of the year big event, but I don't think that's going to happen. So, I just don't want to get my expectations high. You know what I mean? I don't want to walk into December being like, okay, this is it, guys. PlayStation Experience is coming back, when there's been no talk of it and no indication that it's going to happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I do believe, and I will say this, I believe that if Sony is actually planning something for December, we will start to hear a few rumblings maybe throughout November going into December. And if we don't hear anything, then I think it's safe to say, yeah, after the Game Awards, then yeah, that's it. Sony is done for the year. iSiler18, you're saying now it's time for you to get The Last of Us 2 Platinum Trophy. Man, iSiler, you really want me to go back and play The Last of Us 2, don't you? And you're also saying I got Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. Ghost is more than worth it, though. Overall, Ghost is quite overrated to me. I did get the Platinum finally. I could actually understand why some people view Ghost of Tsushima as overrated. I don't want to make the game sound greater than it actually is, but it's just, for me, the things that Sucker Punch, because yeah, it's not a perfect game, it does have its flaws, but the things that Sucker Punch actually gets right, I think that, I just think that they culminate to make a really worthwhile experience. For me, it's easily an 8.5, 9 out of 10 experience. There are some flaws, as I said, so I can't give it a 10 out of 10. But I don't know. It's pretty close to a 9.5, 10 out of 10. There's just a few things holding it back. So we'll see what they do in the sequel. But just to kind of finish off this topic before we move on to the next one, because I want to try, as you'll see, I didn't do any community submissions this week. It's because I seemingly can't get through all of my topics, and then I end up ignoring the community submissions. So for now, I'm just focused on getting through the topics that I have. Did I platinum Miles Morales? I did, actually, yes. Okay, so the idea that Sony isn't done with 2021, I don't want people to misconstrue that. I'm not saying that I am anticipating that Sony will have more beyond this upcoming state of play. I think that if I were to expect anything more from Sony for the remainder of 2021, it would be that they show up at the Game Awards. I actually think it's guaranteed that Sony will show up at the Game Awards, because the Game Awards, it's a pretty big event, and it sounds like Xbox is for sure going to be there in a big way. We know a lot of other publishers are going to be there. I think it would just be wise of Sony to be part of the Game Awards. Whether or not it's going to be a big surprise reveal of a new game, PlayStation VR 2, I think that's anybody's guess. But if I had to give my own prediction, I do think that whatever Sony does decide to show off at the Game Awards, I think it will be pretty significant. I don't think that they would show up at the Game Awards without something significant, even if that's a new God of War trailer or something like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be brand new, but I think it will be significant for sure. And so, I just want to reiterate one last time, because I feel like I maybe didn't make it clear, or maybe not clear enough, that I really didn't expect Sony to do another state of play. I'm not disappointed with the fact that it's going to focus on third-party games, because I didn't think Sony was doing anything else at all. I didn't think they were going to do another state of play. I thought that maybe there was a chance we could get a PlayStation experience, but I did not. I wasn't anticipating it. I was basically in this mindset of, I hope Sony does a PSX. I think it would be great, but I really don't think they're going to. I think it's unlikely. There's no indication that they will. So we got a state of play the end of this month, going into November. Is Sony going to do anything in November? Maybe. We'll have to see. They don't have any big games launching or anything like that. We'll see if they do anything in November, and then I think in December we'll get something from them at the Game Awards, and then we'll be going into 2022, which we're going to talk about later in this podcast episode. We're going to talk about how ridiculous 2022 is looking when it comes to video game releases. It is just absurd. So, yeah, all in all, Sony isn't quite done yet with 2021, even though I thought that they were. And I'm glad that they're not, because I think that this is just a great way. I think that, Sony doesn't have any big games releasing, as I said. We're pretty much in the thick of the holiday season now. And I think that this is just an appropriate time for Sony to come out here with a new state of play and be like, here's some games, check them out. It is, here's one last thing I'll say. I think a question that people have, okay, the state of play is great, and Sony might be at the Game Awards. The question of, will we hear anything more from PlayStation's first-party studios this year? I want to say yes, but I also want to say that if we do, it's probably going to be at the Game Awards. I don't think there's going to be like another state of play focused on PlayStation Studios. I think what we got in September is pretty much it for the year. And I think that Sony, them taking the time to announce Wolverine, I think that was their way of kind of saying, like, look, it's going to be a little bit sparse with announcements this year, but here's Wolverine, and so it's like, and Spider-Man 2, it's like, oh, okay. I see people keep bringing up Abandoned. Like, yes, I know, Abandoned, guys. I don't know. I have nothing more to say on it. It's a game. Apparently, it's a game that's in development. I don't know. The last thing they put out there is basically they're getting threats and they're asking people to stop. And that's all I'm going to say is just leave them be. Just leave them be. Let them go. Do their thing. That's what I think about Abandoned at this point in time. Space D, you're saying, isn't Ghost coming to PC next year? I don't know. I haven't heard anything about Ghost of Tsushima PC release per se. I think I noticed on the gaming leaks and rumors subreddit that apparently it's coming to PC. There's something that's coming out. Did I platinum Control? I did, actually, for PS4. But apparently it will be coming to PC. And guys, like, is that maybe that's the next topic we should talk about, is PC. I think we might have to have this conversation because, people are taking to the internet to make fun of me. And you know what? This is where I'm going to embrace it head on, and I'm not going to sit here and try to ignore it and pretend that the things I said in the past don't exist, or that I'm not moving the goalposts. Listen, I'm well aware. Like, I know that games like God of War, like, I never said something like God of War will never go to PC. I never said that. But what I did say in the past was, hey, I think that Xbox is making a mistake by putting all of their games on PC. I think that it could hurt their console. I think that it's devaluing the console. I think it's making the console irrelevant. And I think that it could be a way for them. I'm pretty sure the way I framed it previously was that it could be a way for Microsoft to eventually abandon the console and stop making consoles. And, I kind of had this fearful mindset, which I guess some people make fun of it because they're like, who cares? Just go play on PC. And I hate getting into those conversations with people. Because it's like, why do I have to defend my reason for wanting to play on a video game console? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not out here saying that the PS5 is better than PC and it's stronger and more powerful than PC. I'm not saying those things. The only thing I'm literally saying is that I just like playing on console. And if somebody were to say, well, why is that? I don't really know. I just like it. I like having that box set up underneath my entertainment center. I like unlocking trophies. I got used to the, the simplified UI of the PS4 and then with the PS5. And that's just it. That's all it is. There's nothing crazy about it. One of my reasons used to be, and it still is to an extent, is exclusive games. And I thought, okay, well, this is definitely a reason to own a console. And now that we're seeing the landscape shift, people they come to me. They don't come to me. They make fun of me. And they're like, dude, you're a clown. You're a hypocrite. You said all these things. You're right. You're absolutely right. I said these things. But I think where people they don't take enough time to hear me out is, let me explain. Give me an opportunity to explain why. Because people assume that, well, MBG, you said these things about Xbox because you're a fanboy and you wanted Xbox to fail and you wanted to make fun of Xbox and you wanted to laugh at Xbox. And don't get me wrong, I had my moments where I was a little bit overly egregious. But the reality is, I started with Xbox. And my reason for leaving Xbox to go to PlayStation, people I think forget this, wasn't because Xbox put their games on PC. It wasn't because of Game Pass. I was still talking about Xbox and invested in Xbox when all of these things happened. It made me worried, like, okay, I don't know where this leaves the console and all of this, but my reason was because of the games. If you go back and you check and you listen to my videos, you listen to my podcasts, right? MBG, you were the laughing stock of Twitter this week. You can't help but contradict yourself. I understand. It's a problem of just basically having too much to say and not looking before I leap. I understand it, because the truth is, when I had that stance, it was because I literally did not think, I absolutely did not think that PlayStation would go in this direction. And I'm surprised to see that they are. And I just kind of thought, sat back and thought to myself, well, I definitely had that mindset and I made it known that PlayStation's not going to do this. Why would they? And I don't think anybody, can you really blame me for having that mindset when Sony has been doing things a specific way since the PlayStation 1 and it's worked for them and they've won every generation, almost every generation, doing it this exact way? Am I really that crazy for thinking to myself, well, is Sony going to suddenly start putting their games on PC or trying out different things? Or is it more likely that they're going to stick to what they've been doing because this is what has worked for them? I don't think anybody can blame me for thinking that Sony was likely going to stick with what worked for them. And so, at this point in time, I just think people need to understand that I didn't move away from Xbox because they put games on PC. I didn't move away from Xbox because of Game Pass. I moved away from Xbox for two reasons. The number one reason is because they just weren't producing games that interest me. And I kept continually feeling disappointed with the games that they were bringing out, to the point where I was getting fed up. And I was like, I would rather go somewhere else where they're maybe making games that appeal to me. And that's why PlayStation appealed to me. The second reason was because I was looking at the direction that Xbox was going in, and I was fearful. And that's why people make fun of me. And that's why I seem like a hypocrite, because I said, I think that this is going to mess up the console, man. I thought that was Microsoft's way. And I wasn't the only one that thought this. Don't let people fool you. They're going to try to make it seem like I'm the only one that thought this and that I was dumb for thinking this. And I absolutely wasn't, because if you go back, there were a lot of people who were supporting what I was saying. Okay. And even some Xbox fans at the time were feeling a bit nervous themselves. I, at the time, thought to myself, this may be Microsoft's way of getting out of the console business. And I don't think that there's any reason at all to think that that couldn't have been a possibility. I think it absolutely was. You want to hear something? here we go. I was wrong. Okay? I was absolutely wrong. And I have no problem admitting that. Because again, do you know why it's so easy for me to admit that? It's not because you moved the goalposts. No. It's because I was clear from day one. I was clear from day one that the games and the potential direction they're going in, we are years removed from Xbox making those decisions. And we are now seeing the ramifications of those decisions playing out in front of us. And you know what? I was wrong. Turns out the console's just fine. The Xbox Series X is selling fine. And that's why I'm saying I was wrong. The fear that I had when it comes to Xbox of like, okay, they're going in this direction. I'm pretty sure it's wrong. I'm pretty sure that's a bad direction. I'm pretty sure that that direction that they're going in is going to come at the expense of my favorite way of enjoying video games. I was wrong. I was absolutely wrong. People are buying these consoles, they're supporting them, and that's it. The console isn't going anywhere, and I'm happy to be wrong. This is where people, when they make their intentions known, you can't really get away from it, right? Like when there are people who are like, well, MBG, dude, you are a fanboy who wants to see Xbox fail. Where are you? These people who are making fun of me, right? These people who are clipping me, where are you on all of my other podcast episodes? Where are you were the times in the past year where I've said, I think Xbox is doing great. I think Xbox has turned it around. I think Xbox has improved dramatically. Where are they? They're not there because they make their intentions clear. Their intent is to basically just tear people down. And that's not what I'm about. That's why I don't bother trying to go at it with these people, because that's not what I'm trying to do. What I'm trying to do is focus on games, focus on PlayStation, focus on Xbox, the market, and what's going on. That's my focus. My focus isn't on how can I dunk on this guy over here and show everybody that I'm right. I don't care about being right. Let's get that straight. I don't care about being right. God knows if I cared about that, man, I probably wouldn't even be on YouTube right now. I wouldn't be doing anything because I've been wrong numerous times and I have no problem admitting that. But I've also been right about things. The point is, my intent has always been clear. That's why I started this out by making it known, yes, I have been egregious at times. Yes, there were times I made fun of Xbox and Xbox fans. I don't really do that anymore because I realized that that's just not what it's about. You know, I don't feel the need to make fun of people and bother people. And if you look at the true reasoning behind why I was saying what I was saying, it's because I was just fearful of the direction that Microsoft was going in. I still do have some fear. Some things are still not proven. We still don't know the long-term implications of a service like Game Pass, right? So I felt the need to say this because, yeah, I've seen, with the God of War PC announcement, basically because I came out and I said, I don't think there's any problem with this. I don't think that there's anything wrong with it. It's clearly a win-win situation at this point. People, I literally made a video saying that I think this is fine. Like, I think that actually PC players are going to be pretty happy about this. And there were people who were saying, look at how mad this guy is. Look at him. He's probably punching air. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lose-lose situation, which is why I just don't care to interact with it. Because if I come out here and I'm like, I think it might be a bad idea. Oh, well, there you go, dude. You're an over-the-top fanboy. You're a clown. If I come out here and I say, I think it's fine. It really doesn't bother me. Yeah, sure. You want us to believe that? Dude, you're punching air behind the scenes. It's like, what? You know what I mean? What am I going to do? That's the nature of the internet, people. That's the nature of the internet. Don't bother trying to have a game of tug of war on the internet because you're just going to lose. You know what I mean? You're not winning. But I did feel the need to explain this because I just want to make it known what the intent has always been and what it still is. And that is, hey, I like playing a video game console. I don't have to explain why I enjoy it. I just enjoy it. And I don't want to see that basically go away or replaced. That's all it is. And so, yeah, that's pretty much all it comes down to. I want my video game console to hook up and play, and I want some great video games to play on it. That's all it is. Let me see. We have a couple of super chats here, but yeah, whether or not Ghost of Tsushima is coming to PC, I guess I mean, why wouldn't it? Why wouldn't at this point? You know, Sony clearly is making good money on PC, so. Siler, you're saying here rests MBG as he tries to play Elden Ring and Horizon Zero Dawn. Yeah, dude, I got a rant about that later too, man. Unbelievable. I can't believe that. KD, you're saying big MBG. Hope you're doing good, bro. Screw the haters. Just remember, you got Xbox fanboys tuning into your PlayStation podcast. You're winning at the end of the day. No, I hear you, bro. And I'm not trying to. I know that people are like, dude, stop talking about it. Stop. I'm not trying to shine a light on it. And I know that the truth is, I don't have to say anything. I don't. Like, I don't have to acknowledge any of this. But I'm going to, because you, my audience, the people who actually care about the content I create, the people who actually support me, you deserve somebody who can be somewhat honorable, right? Where, like, I'm going to come out here and I'm going to tell you, yeah, I think I was wrong about, like, this was a bad take and I was wrong. It turns out that I was proven wrong, and I have no problem doing it. I'm not going to sit here and just ignore things and be like, oh, I never said that. What are you talking about? No, that doesn't exist. That's too easy to do. Okay, that's too easy to do, and so many people do that. All right, I'm just trying. You know, people always talk about keep that same energy. To me, what that means is just admit when you're wrong and have a different viewpoint. Sometimes that's all it is, dude. That's all it is. So that's why I feel the need to say it. It's not to acknowledge the people who are haters, because yeah, dude, haters are haters. They're gonna do what they do all the time, right? Like, there's no changing that. But this is for you guys, those who tune in, those who support me. Just to know that I will keep myself in check and hold myself accountable. I'm not going to run from that or pretend it doesn't exist if I am wrong about something. Plus on Black, you're saying, MBG, all humans are hypocrites. We live and we learn. People that question you aren't as perfect as they think they are either. Yeah, that's true as well, man. Like, it's just human nature. No one is perfect. We all get it wrong sometimes, and we all have bad takes sometimes. That's just the way it is. Space D, you're saying basically Xbox has been right all this time. Sony is following every step silently. Well, I don't think Sony's following every step, nor do I think it's silently. I think Sony is certainly taking more pages out of the Xbox playbook than I would have expected. But they're not doing it silently. They're coming out here and they're like saying like they didn't. I'll put it to you this way: they didn't just stealth release God of War on the PC. They wanted everybody to know, hey, God of War is coming to PC, go buy it. So it's not silently. And Jim Ryan, you know, he is also not being silent. He's saying that he wants hundreds of millions of people to play their games. And so, yeah, that naturally makes you think, well, that sounds awfully similar to that time Phil Spencer said they want to tap into billions of people to play their games. I mean, it's a much smaller number, 100 million, billion, very different numbers, but the sentiment is the same, and that is that they both want to get more people engaged with their platform. iSiler18, you're saying Microsoft's recent goal was 48% growth, but it ended up being 37%. Subscription services for games just don't work since Halo multiplayer is free to play. I don't see how that helps Game Pass either. Yeah, you know, we're going to see, man. I was thinking about talking about that, like the fact that Microsoft didn't hit their goal for what they wanted to hit with Game Pass. But the reason why I'm not going to is because it's not that far off. It's like a little less than 10%. And apparently Microsoft was very bullish about that 48% growth. I want to see what the growth looks like next quarter after games like Back 4 Blood, Forza Horizon 5, and Halo Infinite launch. I mean, yes, Halo Infinite's multiplayer is free to play, but the campaign isn't. So I have to imagine that 37%, it'll probably be higher than 37% because of that. Like, we have to look at what happens with the service when they're dropping big games into it. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because if they drop big games into the service and they're still failing to hit their target number, well, then, yeah, at that point, you might have to think, okay, maybe this isn't as appealing as they thought it was, but we don't know that yet. We have to wait and see. Kevin, you're saying you can't fault yourself on new information. Plus, I don't know why humans can't change their mind either anymore. SIE needs to fund for their ambitions, plain and simple. You know what, man? I want to say this really quick before we move on to the next topic. You talk about why humans can't change their mind either anymore. That's social media, okay? That is the double-edged sword of social media. In the past, people could say and do things and it wouldn't be held against them constantly. What I mean by that is it's not like everything that everybody did was written down or archived for people to go back and find and then weaponize that against them. That's not how things used to be. People used to, live and learn and change. And that was just the natural way of things. These days, because everything is archived on Twitter, on YouTube, on, Instagram, anywhere else, for people to go find, it can and will be used against you. And that's why, I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong, because there are going to be times where you're wrong. It's just that some people put it out there. They put it out there for the public to see something they say, their take on something. And then eventually maybe that is used against you. That's the risk you take by engaging with social media. That's why, dude. That's why people act like they can't change their minds anymore, because they're so afraid of their preconceived notions, maybe, I don't know, not being as on point as they thought they were going to be. Maybe finding out, okay, maybe I was wrong, or maybe there's a different way of looking at it. Again, like when you're talking about real world, real life situations, you'd be surprised how that's natural and normal behavior. When you talk about behavior on social media and the internet, nothing about it is natural or normal. You have to actually go out of your way to try to allow that to exist on the internet. That's what people, I think, that's why people get so caught up in these things, because you literally have to go out of your way to be natural and normal on the internet, whether it's on Twitter, YouTube, or anywhere else. And it shouldn't be that way. It really shouldn't. But again, that's the double-edged sword that is social media and the internet. So that was a kind of side topic. That was like a side mission to the podcast. That wasn't actually a topic that was written down, but somebody had brought it up. So MBG, I bought my first faceplates today, and we'll get them on the 27th. That's awesome, dude. Yeah, I have black faceplates as well. What did you guys think of the new D brand plates? I don't think they look that bad. Like, they have like a vent on the side of them, and it seems like the idea with them is they want to be able to allow the console to run a little bit cooler. And so for me, it's like the design doesn't look that good. It really doesn't. It looks worse than the original PS5 design. But the idea that it could actually benefit your console in terms of cooling, that is kind of appealing to me, where I'm like, well, I guess you could say like, kind of like, function over aesthetics, I guess, is the way they're kind of going with it. So it doesn't look good, but I guess I'll be interested to see when they do release those plates, if anybody does like measurements or testing to see if it actually helps keep the console a little bit cooler, right? Or makes it easier to kind of, disperse the heat. We'll see about that. Okay, but we are going to move on to the next topic, which, let me bring it up here. The next topic in line, this is an interesting one to me, okay? We talked about this a little bit on my video yesterday, or during my video, but I really want to have a more in-depth discussion about it here. Ember Lab just revealed that Kean Bridge of Spirits already recouped its cost and is doing really well, specifically highlighting the fact that Sony is happy about this. This is what they said to Bloomberg. They also mentioned that they got multiple offers for Kean Bridge of Spirits before it was in full production, but they ended up going with Sony. They specifically decided to go with Sony. Do we think that Ember Lab may be a studio that Sony might consider scooping up? Or at the very least, do we think that Ember Lab is basically the next Housemarque or the next Bluepoint, where they have a very strong partnership and they grow that over years, and then eventually they will become a first party studio that becomes a top tier studio. I thought that this was worth taking at least a few minutes to talk about, because when I tell you guys, that people, on my comments, like, they love this game, dude. I mean, people love Kean Bridge of Spirits, and I get really excited when I hear about it, because I haven't actually played it yet. I'm waiting for the physical copy to drop in November. I'm gonna try to get Deathloop done before that, and then I'm gonna play Kean Bridge of Spirits when I get that physical copy. And I'm very excited for it, because people, as I said, man, they played this game and they're like, dude, this is, I've just seen it over and over again. People are saying Sony has to acquire. They have to acquire the studio. And I do think that the most telling thing, there are two things I want to say about Ember Lab and what they said to Bloomberg recently. The two most telling things that they said, okay, is one, they said that, hey, we got multiple offers before, this game went into full production or whatever, and basically to partner with a publisher from they specifically said big publishers. And then they said, we went with Sony. And then they said, Sony's very happy. Like, they specifically said, Sony is happy about the success of the game. I don't know why. I just kind of got this feeling with the way this was being discussed. It reminded me of the conversations we heard when Housemarque was officially acquired by Sony. Housemarque came out and talked about how successful the game was, Returnal, for them and for Sony. They also went out and they said, we got multiple offers from other publishers to be purchased, but we decided to go with Sony. It's interesting to me that Ember Lab is talking in a very similar way, where they aren't acquired by Sony, but they're talking almost as if, not that they're acquired, but like, we're going to stick with Sony. And that is exciting to me. Yeah, I know. D-Doc, I know. I keep pronouncing it wrong. I keep pronouncing it Kenna, and I know it's pronounced Kana. You're saying, by the way, we've all been saying her name wrong. Would have never guessed it was pronounced Kana, like Kana. Yeah, I have to admit, dude, I didn't see that coming either. When I look at Kena, to me, that's Kenna. That's Kena, not Kana. But, I thought if it was going to be Kana, it would be like Kana or Kayna. By the way, my son is crying in the background. The mic may pick it up a little bit, maybe a little bit loud. I just want to apologize if anybody's like wearing headphones or anything. But I just, I saw the hype surrounding this game as it was building up, and people, I think, people had high hopes for this game, and you see it all the time where there's this indie game and it's the first game and it looks great and it looks so promising, and people get excited and they get really hyped up, and then the game launches and then it disappoints or it doesn't live up. In the case of Kean Bridge of Spirits, it's going to be hard to get used to saying that. It did the exact opposite. It absolutely lived up to people's expectations. And, it is quite surprising to see this new studio with their first game come out and basically just completely meet expectations, right? Like, that doesn't happen often. That's a difficult thing to achieve. So hats off to Ember Lab. And I just, I think Ember Lab would be a great acquisition for Sony. It might be a little too soon, but I think it would be fitting. Space, you're saying it's really funny how all this small studios always say the same story, like a script. I mean, yeah, but it's because it's just kind of the way it is, man. It's like, one of the things that I think Xbox was kind of somewhat faulted for, I don't know if it's a fault, but people took note of, is it seems like a lot of the studios that they purchased outside of Bethesda were kind of like these smaller, like AA studios. And, I don't know that Microsoft plans to grow their studios, like a studio like Compulsion Games, for example. I think We Happy Few, I don't think it was their first game, but it was their first attempt at like making a bigger type of game. I don't know if Microsoft's intent is to grow a studio like that to like a level of, say, I don't know, like similar to maybe like Ninja Theory. I don't know if that's what their intent is, but with Sony, what's interesting is when you see Sony pick up a smaller scale studio, at this point, it's it's kind of known that, well, we know what they're going to do with this studio. They're going to grow them to make bigger games, to make better games, to basically make them a AAA quality studio if they're not already that. And if they are already a AAA studio, they want to push that even further. To me, that's obvious at this point that that's what Sony's intent is with pretty much all of the studios they're acquiring or that they plan to acquire. And you do have some offshoots within Sony, like you have Media Molecule. They're not being seemingly tasked to do the same thing. Media Molecule, I don't think it's a mandate. Like, I want to make that clear. All right, I want to make that clear. I don't think Sony has a mandate. Because when I talk about this, it almost makes it sound like Sony is going around to every one of their studios saying, this is the type of game you're going to make, and this is how you're going to make it. I don't think it's that. But I think that there is a general consensus within pretty much all of Sony studios, or most of them, and especially the studios that they're looking to acquire, that if you're going to be part of PlayStation Studios, there is something that goes along with that. And that is the quality seal, the high quality, the high water mark that, people associate with the PlayStation brand and with PlayStation Studios. And so that's why I think it's just, and again, this isn't a shot at Xbox or their studios, but it is something that it is different. It is different. You can't deny it's different. When you see studios like Bluepoint and Housemarque being acquired, it's almost like now it's like they're wearing a new jersey or something, right? Like they're part of like a prestigious a sports team now, where it's like the expectation is you are now part of a championship team. The expectation is you're going to perform even better than you were previously. You're going to be like totally optimized, and you're going to just be like a top tier player in this top tier team. I think that when you see studios, like I said, like Bluepoint, you look at their job listings and they're basically coming out and they're not hiding it. They're like, we're going big, man. Like, we're going big. We're doing original content. We plan to make game of the year quality games. That's what they say. And it's like, that's it right there. Like, that is the influence of the PlayStation brand and the PlayStation, I guess you could say mentality, but you don't necessarily see a studio. And this is where it's interesting to me. You don't see a studio like Media Molecule, or even, to be honest, I'm thinking about it now, guys. I think the only studio that Sony has that isn't outwardly coming out and planning to make bigger and better games, they might be, we just haven't heard it, is, we haven't heard anything from Media Molecule. Even the smallest studio I think Sony owns is Pixel Opus. Do you guys know that studio? They made Concrete Genie. Okay. They're a pretty small studio, and I think that they are the smallest studio that Sony owns. They're pretty much the equivalent of like an indie, close to an indie studio, maybe a AA studio. And even then, if you look at their next game, we don't know what it is, but it's being made in Unreal Engine 5. They're partnering with Sony Pictures Animation, and they made it clear, like, we got a bigger budget, people, like, we're going bigger now. And it's like, this is what's happening with Sony. Sony, I know that there are some fans who don't like the direction that Sony's going in by changing things up and doing things differently, and Jim Ryan and whatnot. But the one thing that they absolutely got right, and I always say this is the most important thing, is that Sony's strength lies in that right there. Their ability to come out and say, we make prestigious games. We make the top quality, right? That's what we do. We don't make the most games. We don't make, we're not focused necessarily on having the most diverse array of games. It's not like Sony's making sports games and they're making fighters. They're not doing that. And I don't think they don't absolutely don't need to do that. They do have diversity, but it's a little bit more limited. But what they do have is we have that prestige. We have the quality. We have the high water mark, right? Like that's what we offer. And they decided that we're going to go to our studios, and it's not a mandate, but say like, grow your studio. Here's money to grow your studio. Here's money to, and time to just go bigger, right? To go bigger. You're saying Playground Games hired 100 people this year alone. Well, don't get me wrong. Understand, I'm not trying to make it sound like Xbox isn't doing the same thing. Xbox is absolutely doing the same thing. I just don't know that they're doing it on the same scale. Like, I think Xbox is more focused, and I know people are going to get upset when I say this, Xbox fans, but it's not a bad thing. Hear me out. I think Xbox truly is focused more on quantity than quality because that is kind of what they're good at right now. The quantity of Game Pass, and there's quality there as well, but people go to Game Pass because like, look at all these games, right? For this low price, the quantity of studios that Microsoft is able to purchase. And to me, Microsoft's approach is more like, if we scoop up 10 studios, there's a good chance that at least 3 of those studios will be very good, right? Maybe the other 7 or 5 or whatever it may be, the ratio may be, the rest, they'll be good and good enough, but not necessarily like top tier, right? And I feel like, Microsoft is looking towards studios like Playground, Playground and Space D. I see you're saying Forza Horizon 5. Want to have a word with you, sir. That's what I'm saying. Like, Microsoft does have these studios that are top quality, man. Like, yeah, Playground Games. I have a ton of faith that when they show Fable, that game is going to be huge, man. Like, I think that game is going to be a game that people are like, okay, all right. And then they have Bethesda. I don't want to talk about Bethesda because I feel like that's not fair. Like, I'm focused mainly on the studios that Microsoft had previously that they are dumping the most amount of money into. And like, yeah, they hired 100 people. It's because they have a lot of faith that Playground Games is going to be one of those studios. So I guess what I'm trying to say is like, we'll move on to the next topic soon, but what I'm trying to say is that Sony, I think, has this mentality where you look at Sucker Punch, you look at Guerrilla Games, you look at, I'm trying to go with the studios that they purchased, Naughty Dog, right? And I'm sure there's others I'm forgetting, but these 3, or Insomniac as well, Insomniac. You look at these studios and you have to look at their history. You have to look at where they started. They started very humble, very small, very much nowhere near where they are now. And after Sony purchased them, it took many, many, many years. They're looked at as some of the best studios in the world in gaming, right? And they are like, come on, you look at Horizon Forbidden West, they're like, it's looked at as one of the best games. But then you look at Spider-Man 2, you look at Wolverine, you look at Ratchet and Clank, and then you look at Ghost of Tsushima, right? And you see how these studios are not just reaching these levels of, oh, they're good. No, they're reaching these levels of they're great. I sound like Tony the Tiger. Okay, but that's, I always got to ruin it for myself, but that's pretty much it. They're just on another level that most studios don't get to. And I think Sony, when they look at any studio under them, like, let's talk about a studio that's not there yet. Let's be real. Sony Bend, right? Okay, Sony Bend proved a lot, absolutely proved a lot with Days Gone, but they still didn't make it to that level yet. Like, Sony Bend is not on the level of Guerrilla Games yet. They're just not. They're close. They're almost there, but they still got to go through that next level. And I think that the idea is what Herman Holst wants. And I think what that studio wants, like, it's a mutual thing, is, hey guys, you got a blank slate, new IP. Here's all the money you need to hire people, to grow your studio. Take your time. But what we are expecting from you is this is going to be your moment. Like, this is going to be your moment where you rise, right? And I think that anybody at Sony Bend, they're thinking the same thing. Like, they're looking around at each other like, look, we almost did it with Days Gone. And to a lot of people, they did do it with Days Gone. But this is where we are. We're going to do it now. Like, we're going to do it. We are going to be the next studio that does it. You know, and you're right. They have been around for a long time. Right? They have been around for a long time. But I think that that's what's happening next for them. And I think, like, even a studio like Bluepoint, newly acquired, or a studio like Housemarque, I think it's the same thing, man. Like, they're all like, our next, we're going to do it. Like, they're competing with each other, is what I'm trying to say. I don't know why it took me so long to get that, but that's what they're competing with each other. And that's not a shot at Microsoft. It's not. But we have to just look at the truth for what it is. Like, Sony isn't trying to compete with most of Microsoft studios. Some of them, they're probably going to have to. Like, yeah, Sony, you're going to have to contend with the next Elder Scrolls whenever that comes around. The next Fallout. You may have to contend with Starfield. You have to contend with Forza right now and Halo right now. But I just think that Sony is they're more focused on their studios basically pushing each other to the top rather than looking at Microsoft. And I say that because when you look at Microsoft, they're working hard to try to get to that level. And the next topic we're going to talk about focuses on just that. Even the head of Xbox Studios said themselves, this is a quote, it has not been a one-to-one. That's a quote from Matt Booty. It has not been one-to-one. And that's just the truth. Even Microsoft acknowledges it. So it wouldn't make sense for Sony to look at Microsoft and say, we're going to focus on competing with them, because that just doesn't make sense. What Sony is doing is they're like, we are top dog. We do make the best games. We made God of War 2018. We just made Ghost of Tsushima. So basically, let's just empower our studios and let our studios go at it with each other. People have been coming out and they're like, dude, I think Insomniac dethroned. It's like a battle royale within Sony's own studios. People are like, Insomniac just dethroned. They just dethroned friggin' Naughty Dog. They just did. Wow. Holy crap. Thank you, PlayStation Pete. What a generous donation, buddy. That came out of nowhere. PlayStation Pete's liking what I'm saying. PlayStation Pete's like, you dude, keep going, MBG. You got it. You got it. Thank you so much, though, man. That's very, very nice of you. Very, very generous of you. PlayStation Pete, big supporter of this channel, people. Big shout out to you, PlayStation Pete. I do have a few other super chats as well. But PlayStation Pete, you didn't say anything. You just dropped 100. But so I'm just going to take that as you're liking what you're hearing. So I appreciate that, man. I really do. I appreciate that. We have Darkborn. You're saying, I feel like Bethesda has better other studios than the main ones. Look at the last few launches. Fallout 76 was on par with Cyberpunk. They lost it. I do hear what you're saying, Darkborn, and I think that there may be some truth to that to an extent. I do think that Bethesda absolutely has a lot to prove with Starfield, and I think that Starfield is going to set the tone for the remainder of the generation. You know, people talk about Elder Scrolls, and that's great, but those games are literally years and years away. Starfield is up next, and I think Starfield is that game for Bethesda where it's like, did they get it back? Did they get it back? And I think it's looking like they may have gotten it back. So we'll see. Siler18, you're saying, it is what it is, but I'm forever bothered with Days Gone 2 not happening, LOL. Yeah, I hear you, man. To be honest, it seems like something happened in Sony Bend. Like, things just, I hate to say it, but I think Sony Bend almost like pretty much collapsed as a studio briefly, and it was looking like they were on the wire after Days Gone, because if you look at the amount of positions they're hiring for, it's clear that a lot of people left. I think Sony Bend went through some turmoil, and the heads of the studio, the two head guys there, John Garvin and forget the other guy's name, but they were there from the beginning. They're no longer there. It just seems like an entire uprooting of the studio, for better or for worse. And I think that they're doing that in an attempt to see, like, you know, let's do something I think it's reflective of what they're doing next, which is something completely new. I think the people who were there previously, they wanted a Days Gone 2, and they were like, we deserve to make a Days Gone 2. Sony was like, it's not happening. And then I think they're like, well, then whatever. Screw you, Sony, I'm out. And I think they left, and the people who were there, still there, are like, I want to do something new. So I don't know. It's pure speculation on my part, but I just think that there was some big shakeup with Sony Bend. Pegasus Disciple, you're saying Sony makes amazing games, and I don't blame them for wanting other players to experience them. PlayStation is just built different. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little while too. This notion, like I put the question, like, hey, God of War sold 19.5 million copies on PS4, which is staggering. But is that good enough for Sony? And we're going to talk about that. Again, thank you, PlayStation Pete, for that very generous donation, buddy. Was not expecting that. But it does. I just want to let you know, it does go a long way in supporting the channel. So thank you so much. Kevin, you're saying not only competing with each other, but building on top of each other. They've had the best gaming development ecosystem. They have the best gaming dev ecosystem running right now. That's it too, Kevin. Like you're highlighting something that I'm forgetting to mention, which is the culture, the ecosystem, the entirety of it. I think, and I know you guys are eager for me to get to this topic because I'm eager to get to it too, because there's a lot that has to be said and a lot that has to be clarified. Because when I tell you that I think the most telling thing we've heard in quite some time was the head of Xbox Game Studios pretty much saying exactly what you just said, Kevin. He said it in a different way, but pretty much saying, yeah, Sony is the best at what they do. And I mean, we're not talking about a random person. We're not talking about we're talking about their main competitor, or what seems to be their main competitor, saying this. So we're going to talk about that. Darkborn, again, you're saying it was funny when Phil said they simply make the most and best games, or something like that a few months ago. Remember that, MEG? Yeah, and I think Phil Spencer, I think that he has good intentions, but I also think that he does want to win, and I think that that's obvious. I think if you look at, the renewed energy inside of Xbox that resonates towards the fan base and sometimes can veer, just like with PlayStation, into toxic territory, I think it just makes it clear that, yeah, Xbox, they want to compete, they want to win, but they want to do it in a different way. And I think Phil, he just has this, he's exuding this new confidence where, I mean, come on, we know Xbox doesn't have the best games, and I think even he knows that. But if I was the head of Xbox, that's what I'd be saying. You know what I mean? I'd say, yeah, we have the best games. Even if maybe deep down you're like, come on, bro. They're not the best of the best. Some of them can be. Forza, I mean, hey, Forza, Space D said Forza wants to have a word with me. I mean, it's looking top quality. You can't argue that. Halo, I'm less in tune with Halo, but I'm hearing good things about it. And then we have Jacob, you're saying, want to love my PS5, but some of the newer exclusives just ain't me. I'm an OG PlayStation fan. I feel like this PS5 generation is starting FR for me now. Don't know why. What is that? I should know what FR stands for. I feel like this PS5 gen is starting for me now. But I do hear what you're saying, Jacob. You're not the only one that shares that sentiment. I mean, we do talk here pretty much consistently about how pretty much almost everything PlayStation does is great, but sometimes you do have to get away for real. Okay, I don't know why I didn't know that. I should have known that. For real is starting for real. Okay, that makes more sense. I feel like this PlayStation 5 generation is starting for real for me now. Don't know why. Well, we talk in a pretty objective manner here. I mean, at least I try to. For example, things like, hey, PlayStation makes great games. That, I think, is a pretty objective statement. But we do have to view the subjective side where not everybody is overly happy about a lot of the things that PlayStation has done so far. For a good example of this is when Wolverine was announced, by Insomniac. Like most people were like, yes. But there was a group that was like, well, so they're doing another Marvel game? You know, like they're like, I would have liked to see Insomniac do something original. And then we see the rumor that Insomniac's also working on a separate Marvel multiplayer game. And then people are like, okay, so is Insomniac the Marvel studio now? Some people don't want that. People want they want these rumors of like Sly Cooper returning and you know, what's the game? Twisted Metal, things like this. They want, or like Infamous, they want these things to come back. They want PlayStation to kind of get closer, like not straight so far away from their heritage, right? Like, you know, people want to see Killzone return. People want to see SOCOM return. People want to see more of this stuff happening. And I think we will, but we do have to understand it is pretty early. I think that if you look at the plans and the pieces that are set in place right now on the board, it's become pretty clear that Sony is going to stick with what they know and what they do best. We see that already with games like Spider-Man, God of War, Horizon, and that's fine. But I think there's also a lot more going on behind the scenes. It's just going to take a little bit longer because they're not tried and true sequels, at least not yet. They're kind of like returns or comebacks. It's going to take longer for these things that come to happen. Oh, you know what? We're going to move on to the next topic in a second, but Waxed Max, you said the Sly Cooper logo was on the Play Has No Limits commercial. Here's an interesting one. Really quick, Stormbreaker, do I think Hogwarts Legacy will be the state of play? I'm going to say it will be. That's just a guess. I could be totally wrong, completely wrong, but I want to say it will be. I just think it's a smart move, and I think the time is right. I wouldn't be shocked if it wasn't, but I do think it will be there. I want to say this, though. You say Waxed, or I called you Waxed Max. I'm sorry, buddy. Waved Max. Why did I call you Waxed Max? Waved Max. I apologize, buddy. Waved. I know. I see you. I see you. You're talking about that Play Has No Limits trailer. Somebody please take care of that in the chat. Mods, please. You talking about that Play Has No Limits trailer that was shown at the beginning of the September PlayStation Showcase. And in that trailer, there was a bunch of Easter eggs towards games. And there were Easter eggs towards games that people were like, Sony, don't be messing with me right now. You're talking about Sly Cooper. You're talking about Silent Hill. You're talking about, we know Resident Evil 4 remakes happening. There was a bunch of others. I think there was a Spyro one, maybe. There's a bunch of Final Fantasy ones. There's a bunch. Maybe you guys in the chat can let me know some of them that I'm missing. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, okay, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I came across this Reddit thread in Gaming Leaks. It's like one of my favorite Reddits to like stalk now because it's just always interesting to see what pops up. Apparently, and we haven't heard anything about it yet, but I want you guys to keep this in mind because it might happen sometime soon. And if it does, well, we might want to pay closer attention to that trailer. So essentially, this post brought up something in regards to it was Fall Guys, specifically Aloy, making her way as a character in Fall Guys. And there was something that they discovered that seemed to indicate that this was going to be happening in the future. Now, as of right now, it still hasn't happened. It still hasn't been announced. We haven't heard anything about Aloy joining Fall Guys. But the reason why the person pointed this out was because they said, guys, if you go back and watch that trailer, the Play Has No Limits trailer, everybody was asking themselves, is this Sony teasing future game announcements? Is this Sony teasing what's to come? In that trailer, they specifically teased an Aloy Fall Guys character. And so if this comes true, it's a big if. We have to wait to see. People are saying, uh-oh, Uh-oh. How much more should we look into this trailer? Everybody said in this trailer, there's a scene where this girl enters the lobby of this building. She enters the lobby of this building, and she sneaks past a desk where a security guard is sleeping. And on the desk, and I'm not trying to go into this territory, I just have to make it known, on the desk is a radio. And everybody's like, that's the radio from Silent Hill. That's the Silent Hill radio. But I also tried to tell people, hold on, you're not just seeing the tease of Silent Hill with that Silent Hill radio. Look at what's happening on screen. She's sneaking past a guard. Dude, genius. I'm not saying it means anything. I'm not saying it means Silent Hill confirmed, Metal Gear confirmed. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that that is a genius way to combine Silent Hill and Metal Gear in a single. That was great. I don't know how many people picked up on that. The fact that she was sneaking past the guard. I'm like, that's a Silent Hill and Metal Gear reference all in one. You know, props to anybody, to whoever made that. Okay, so we have Darkborn. You're saying, I still think next year is going to be stacked. Almost every game we know of coming next year was slated for 2021. What was supposed to be 2022? Dude, we're going to talk about that later, man. 100%. 100% that, like, dude, I don't know what's I don't know what's going to happen. I think it's going to be... I'm not trying to be negative. I want to be positive, but I think publishers might find themselves in a bit of a jam and a pickle, if you will, come 2022. There's no way. When you look at February, I will go over this later, but if you don't want to wait, right now, Google gaming in 2022, go to the Wikipedia, click game releases, look at the month of February. There's absolutely no way that these publishers are not looking at that month and being like, we got to move some stuff. We got to move some stuff. There's just no way they're not doing that because it's ridiculous. It's unbelievably ridiculous. What do I think of Forspoken? I think it looks good. I'm not like overly excited for it because the story isn't grabbing me that much. Like the story looks like, yeah, sure, you know, like let's see what happens. But the gameplay of Forspoken looks very promising. I like the open world. I like the movement mechanics, and I like the way the game looks. It looks great graphically, and the you know, it looks good. So I'm very excited for it. I think it has a ton of potential. Okay, so let me see. That topic went on a little bit longer than I wanted it to. But yeah, you guys can let me know if you think that. Let's circle back to what we originally talked about. Is Ember Lab? Are they going to be the next studio that's acquired by Sony? Should Sony acquire them? Here's the question I'll ask. It's a more nuanced question. Do you think it's too soon for Sony to acquire them? It seems like Sony likes to wait before they acquire studios. They want these studios to prove themselves, not once, but a few times. Do you think Sony could make an exception for the studio? And if so, do you think it's risky to do so? Let me know what you guys think. I'll definitely be interested to see what you say. I'm pretty sure most of you are going to say that they should acquire them, though, if I had to guess. Saying maybe $300 to $400 worth of games in February 22. Yep. Dude, it's crazy. Absolutely crazy. All right, the next topic. This is, okay. I'm going to give everybody forewarning here. Although maybe I shouldn't, but I will anyway. There's a chance I could go on a huge rant at this next topic. I might not. I don't know. I don't plan these things. Did I see the Bloodborne poster that's making the rounds? Yeah, that's fake. That's a fake, that's a made up picture. That's not real. I'm pretty sure. Like, I'm pretty sure it was proven by quite a few people that like dissected it that it's not real. All right, so, and the reason why I'm going to rant about this, and I'm going to try to keep it together, but I have to rant about this because of the people that came my way over this. But before I do that, let's go over the facts, shall we? Recently, the head of Xbox Game Studios, Matt Booty, did an extensive interview with Kinda Funny Games, and it was actually a very insightful interview for anyone who wants a better understanding of how Xbox approaches their first-party games and their studios. He made an interesting comment, though, that pertains specifically to Sony and their first-party games. So this is reading from GameSpot, and they transcribed this word for word. And I have to put extreme emphasis on this because a bunch of people accused me for one reason or another. You didn't listen to this interview. You didn't hear what Matt Booty actually had to say. You are wrong. I did listen to it. I heard every word that this man spoke. I just need that to be known before we read what GameSpot wrote down here, okay? And I did double check to make sure that GameSpot correctly transcribed what was said. And they did. Xbox Game Studios boss Matt Booty has discussed Microsoft's efforts to compete with Sony in terms of first-party games, acknowledging that Xbox has, quote, not been out in front, unquote, when it comes to big tentpole games like Sony is known for. Speaking to Kinda Funny, Matt Booty praised Sony for what it has been able to achieve, going on to say Microsoft hopes to deliver more of those types of games in the future. Quote, hats off to Sony, their studio system, and the leaders that they've got there. It's fantastic. You can't argue with the quality and the craft and the games that they delivered and that they're working on now. Kudos and hats off to them. I think there is a certain kind of game that generates an anticipation. It becomes this tentpole moment. It's a game that fits that intersection of everybody can play, and it's a big world you can inhabit. I think those kinds of games are important, and certainly it's been a place where we have not been out in front. We haven't really had the sort of one-to-one with Sony. Booty said he didn't want to get drawn into discussing what Microsoft's response to Sony's Uncharted or Horizon might be if it is making projects like that. But overall, Matt Booty said Microsoft is keen to create the types of games that Sony is known for. I don't necessarily want to get into what's our Uncharted, what's our Horizon Zero Dawn, what's our this, what's our that. I don't think that does anybody good, Matt Booty said. What are those games that have universal themes, that have a big world that people want to get lost in, that have really well realized characters and really high production values? That is absolutely what we want to go after. Okay, so there you go. Before anybody gets on me, by the way, I do apologize again. My son's kind of like screaming in the background. I don't know if my mic's picking that up or not. I can hear it very clearly. It's a little bit distracting, but maybe you guys can let me know. Is it coming through the mic loudly? Because I can turn my mic gain down if it is. It's not. Okay, just wanted to make sure. Because I'm sitting here reading this and I'm hearing it and I'm like, this is going to sound a little strange. All right, great. I'm glad you guys don't hear it. My mic's doing a good job then. Okay. So that is word for word what Matt Booty said, okay? And I have to continue to put emphasis on this because I made a video just a few days ago where I said in my thumbnail, Xbox admits it wants to make more games like Sony. That's what I said in my thumbnail. People came at me. They came at me. And they said, delete this video. What a pathetic fanboy. What a loser. This guy has to make up lies just to get views. Please, somebody enlighten me. Where is the lie? Where is the lie in what I said? Oh, wait, that's right. There is no lie. You're just upset. You're just upset because you don't want to deal with the fact that the brand that you are loyal to for whatever reason, the brand that you prefer, the console and the games that you prefer, they are coming out here and literally saying, no, we are not making our own Uncharted. We are not making our own Horizon. Of course, Matt Booty is going to say that. He would sound like a moron if he came out and said, yeah, we're going to make our own Horizon. I mean, I think people... Here's the thing. You think people wouldn't be excited for that? You think Xbox fans wouldn't be excited for that? They absolutely would be. They absolutely would be. Don't let them fool you. But he says we're not doing that. Because why would he? He's not coming out here trying to say we're literally trying to copy Sony's exact games. What he said is we are going to try to make games that are on the same level as Sony. He could not be any more clear. He literally couldn't be any more clear. And you still have these people coming out here. attacking me because, and I wasn't even dunking on anybody. I'm literally just reporting the news. I'm literally just telling people, dude, this is what Matt Booty's saying. And here's the best part about it. I think it's a great thing. I think this is great for Xbox. I think Xbox fans should absolutely love the fact that the head of Xbox Game Studios is saying this, because you know what? People come to me and they're like, bro, we just don't like Sony's games. We like the diversity. We like the Sea of Thieves. We like the whatever else we're getting, the Forzas and the Halos and the State of Decays. We love them. We don't want all of our games to turn into third-person, over-the-shoulder games and whatnot. And I'm like, at what point did Matt Booty say that that's what they're doing? At what point did he say that? That's not what he said. You were assuming. You're assuming that when I say he wants to make games like Sony, that literally means, well, I guess every game is going to be a ripoff of Horizon. That's not what he's saying. He's making it clear that they want bigger production value games. They want games that get people as excited as you see people get excited for games like God of War, for Horizon. And that's a great thing. That's a great thing. Why would anybody not want that? I'm telling you, the only people who thought that what he said was a bad thing are people who literally looked at that as Xbox admitting some kind of defeat. They're not admitting defeat. They're admitting the obvious, as they should be. And this is good because they can learn a thing or two from Sony. It's exactly what I've been saying. Guys, go way back. Go back to 2019. Go back to 2020. What have I been saying about Xbox? Man, I really wish that they would try to, take some pages out of Sony's books when it comes to their game development. And there's always this group of people that get mad and they're like, dude, we don't want them to copy Sony. I'm not saying to copy Sony. I'm saying that if you are going to take any notes from Sony, it should be, how do you make your games more exciting and more appealing? High quality, big open worlds, diversity within those worlds. He says it all himself, man. He says it all himself. And it just kind of pissed me off because people make it seem like if I even say anything about Xbox, like people call me a liar. And that is the biggest pile of bullshit I've ever seen. Because you want to talk about people who are trying to twist shit around? I saw a clip that somebody made of me talking about God of War on PC, okay? And it was an entire thread of people just shitting all over me because I used the word dramatic. With a D as in dog, dramatic. Okay? And I used that word in this context. I said that Sony may end up doing a more dramatic approach with bringing games to PC. We don't know in the future. Sony could make a more dramatic shift to PC. That's what I said. And there was a top comment from Colt Eastwood who literally quoted me. He quoted me and said, oh, he used the word traumatic with a T, okay? As in Tarzan. Yeah, that's right. T as in Tarzan. I said it, right? I used the word traumatic. And people upvoted that shit. People were like, yeah, what a weirdo who uses the word traumatic to describe this. I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. Like, people are making shit up and then upvoting each other based off of literal lies in order to tear people down. And people wonder why. Damn, why is MBG ranting like this? This is why. Because it's bullshit. It's a pile of fucking bullshit. It's about video games too. Like, who cares? There's nothing traumatic about God of War going to PC. You think anybody will highlight my tweet where I came out and I said, hey, some people are going to come out here and be surprised that God of War came to PC, even though it's not surprising at all. I hope PC players enjoy it. You think anybody will quote that tweet? You think any of these radical Xbox fans who just like to, for some reason, shit on my reputation, you think they'll quote tweet that and say, wow, what a good take, MBG? Absolutely not. Instead, what they'll do is they'll say I said the word traumatic. Now, I could understand how somebody, well, maybe they thought you said traumatic. Okay, that's perfectly fair. That's fine. Sure. Maybe some people, but when you see comments of people saying, dude, he didn't say traumatic, he said dramatic. It's pretty obvious. And yet people don't care. They don't care about the truth. They don't care about the facts. They want to live in their little land of delusion. Okay? And you know what? While I'm at it, what the fuck is up with people coming to me being like, dude, why you like console, bro? Why are you playing on console? Like, what's so good about it? Why don't you go to PC? Like, why don't you just shut the fuck up and stop asking me why I like what I like? How about that? I'm sorry. I gotta go. Dude, it's cathartic. I gotta go. You know it had to happen. I gotta let it go, man. Because I see this shit constantly and I just cannot stand it. Like, what is wrong with people? What is wrong with people? People say that to me like, what's wrong with you, MBG? I'll hear you out. Please tell me what's wrong with me. I'll evaluate it and I'll come to the conclusion, you know what? Yeah, maybe I was wrong about that. Or maybe that was a bad take. I was wrong about that, sure. But other people, they don't do that shit. They don't do that shit ever. They just, they fire their shot and they run away. They fire their shot and they run away. And they just keep coming out when it's time to fire that shot, man. Don't have my rant juice mug today, but I just get pissed because people continue to try. They continue to try to tear me down and make it seem like that my focus is not on the games when it absolutely has been. You know what? All right, it's not over yet. I gotta say this too. I came across multiple articles recently that were talking about the Xbox Series X dashboard being 4K now. Spacey, you're saying you're right, MEG. We got caught 4K 120 VRR. Dude, I get it. Look, it's fine. I know that, because I'm getting mad and I'm ranting, it's going to encourage people to do it more. It is what it is, man. Like, I don't expect it to stop. I'm not saying that. I'm just simply trying to make it known that, like, when I see shit like, he said the word traumatic, like, oh my God, I didn't say that. Like, that's wrong, right? And people be like, yo, look at this video that MBG made in early 2019. I'm like, okay, you got me. You're right. Okay. I was wrong. You're right. That's fine. I don't expect it to stop, but holy hell, some people just take it so far with this stuff. And they just want so badly to just keep going, you know? Anyway, I came across multiple articles of the news that the Xbox Series X now offers a native 4K dashboard. Now I'm going to be, look, I'm going to give it to you straight. I don't see people out here coming out and being like, yeah, 4K native dashboard for Xbox Series X, let's go. All we do is win. I'm not saying that. I have not seen that. And I will admit, keep in mind, this is where I am keeping the energy real here. I'm admitting I was wrong in the sense that I went back and I listened to myself. I made a video, and that video was talking about how the PS5 was going to offer a native 4K dashboard and the Xbox Series X dashboard was going to be 1080p. And my title wasn't egregious. My thumbnail wasn't egregious. I basically just said that in my eyes, the PS5 having a native 4K dashboard on day one makes it more of a next-gen console. And I think everybody could agree with that. It just feels more next-gen. Even if you're somebody who doesn't care about 4K dashboards, that's fine. But I think we can all admit, like, it's nice. It makes it feel a little bit more spruced up. That's fine. I will admit, I was way too excited about it. I'm just going to say it. Like, I was cringe because I was like, I was that guy. I'm like, yeah, native 4K PS5 dashboard, suck it, Xbox. Although I didn't actually say that in the video. I kept it. I think it was pretty okay. But here's what happened. Okay. I got absolutely dogpiled. Absolutely dogpiled on that video. Okay? I got torched because apparently that I'm just an insane fanboy, a ridiculous fanboy who's getting overly excited over a native 4K UI, and that no one cares that the Series X doesn't have a 4K UI. Literally no one cares. No one cares. Because you don't play dashboards, and I get it. I get it. See, I understand the problem. I've learned. I actually think that some of the things that people were saying to me at the time, they were right. They're like, dude, calm down, bro. Like, you're getting overly excited over something that's not worth getting that excited about, man. You know? Like, it's not that big of a deal. Like, it's not a huge deal that the Series X doesn't have a 4K dashboard. You're trying to make it sound like it's a huge deal. I'm like, you know what? You're totally right. You're totally correct. There was a better way to deliver that. And it's as simple as, hey, I think it's great that the PS5 is going to offer a native 4K dashboard. I don't play dashboards, but it's still nice to have. I think it's, I think the Series X only being 1080p seems a little bit lackluster to me, but not the biggest deal in the world. Hopefully they end up getting that fixed, and it happens, and it has happened. So I admit, there you go. See, I'm doing it. See, I'm doing it right now. I'm telling you, I was wrong about that. Like, my reaction to it was wrong. So I deserved a little bit of a sting. But the amount of dogpiling I got for that, just to now get to a point where now the Xbox Series X has a 4K dashboard. And I came out and I said, dude, I got dogpiled for this. I have to imagine there's quite a few Xbox fans right now that are like, yup, 4K dashboard, let's go. Let's go, Series X, let's go, right? And it's like, a lot of people came to me and they're like, no, MBG, we still don't care. Like, we still don't care. I still don't care about the 4K dashboard. I don't need it. I don't want it. And I'm like, all right, I got to give you guys, for those who are saying that, you got to give you props. You literally didn't care. A 4K dashboard means nothing to you. It's nothing to you, and it never will be. And I got to give you that credit. But I sincerely hope that anybody who is dogpiling me for being excited or being happy about a 4K dashboard for the PS5, now that they have it for the Series X, if that's what they're planning on, I hope so, man. I hope they're happy. I hope they're happy, and I hope that they realize, you know what? Maybe MBG wasn't that far off the mark. He was a little bit over the top. But yeah, this 4K dashboard is pretty nice. And I'll tell you guys, look, you're saying this is how far gaming has come. We're talking about dashboards. I know. But you have to take a second to try to view it from my perspective, where I lived this, man. Like, yes, it is about dashboards, man. Like it was. When we were building up to these next-gen consoles, everybody was laser focused on what features are they going to have, who's going to have the better features, who's going to have the advantage, who's going to have the disadvantage. And in my opinion, the PS5 having a native 4K dashboard was an advantage. And it still is, because it's awesome. I have this big 4K screen TV. When I turn on my PS5, I don't want to be looking at 1080p on the dashboard. No, I don't play the dashboard, but I'm sure spending a decent amount of time looking at it and navigating it. Why not have it at 4K? And I think that anybody who's going to experience that on the Series X is going to agree. They're going to be like, you know what? I got to admit, this is pretty nice. So there you go. There's my rant. Guys. I don't know. It's just never ending. It feels like it's just a merry-go-round that I seemingly can't get off of. And I feel like the best thing I can do, and this is the last thing I want to say before I go more in depth with what we were talking about and, get off of this rant. The last thing I want to say is my hope is I'm not trying, because I know when I rant like this, it comes off as like, man, this guy just wants to go at it with people. He just wants to fight. It's not that. My hope is that I will point out the things that to me are very obviously not great and wrong, like the traumatic thing, like the fact that I made a video where I'm like, hey, I think God of War going to PC is fine, maybe even a good thing, right? It's fine. My hope is that while doing that, if I admit to the things that I was wrong about and I say, okay, maybe I wasn't on point on this, or maybe I didn't keep the same energy, or maybe that was a bad take, that we can improve and we can move forward and we can ultimately have better conversations and better discussions regarding all of this stuff than we did previously. That's my hope. You see what I'm saying? It's not about going to war. It's not about winning something. It's not about being right. It's about learning and becoming better. And so that way, I think if everybody can do that, we can just all have a better time. It'll make for better conversation in the end. That's my hope. I felt I have to end the rant with saying that because I don't want people to perceive this as like, I just want to cause problems and go at it with people. Like, trust me, I have every opportunity to do so. And I try my best not to. All right. Trying to walk the path of peace, not pieces. You know what I'm saying? All right, so we have a couple of super chats here that I have to get through. Let me see. Darkborn, you're saying the problem is the Xbots have Zalker and Colt Eastwood that spew lies. I heard one of them say all PlayStation games are going to Game Pass last year. I mean, look, like the thing is I don't listen to these content creators, not because I have a problem with them. I mean, the only time I have a problem with them is if they're misquoting me or something. I don't have a problem with any of them because it's like they're enthusiasts just like I am. Like they are as enthusiastic about Xbox as I am about PlayStation. I have no desire to like go at it with them and be like, you're wrong and I'm right. But it's just sometimes some things do come my way and they float by and I'm like looking at it. I'm like, what the F is that? You know, like what is that? And I got to go like sort it out or figure it out, you know? But in general, it's like, you know, I want to say this too. This is important, okay? This is important because we're talking about keeping the same energy. We're talking about being real. One thing I learned this past year and a half, and it was a mistake. And I know some people liked it, and some people, and actually at the time, they were like, "Hey, dude, keep going." They're like, "Bro, keep going, man, keep going." And I'm like, "Yeah, I will keep going. I will. This is great." Basically, I saw a comment that somebody left and they were like, MBG, you do this thing where anytime Sony is doing good or anytime good things are happening with PlayStation, exciting things, you don't just get excited. You get on your high horse. You get on your high horse and you're like, yes, like we are gods, you know? And I'm like, okay, all right, you know what? I think you're right about that. Like basically, I think I take it like I should just take the hype and excitement to here and like this is healthy, like this is good, and like everybody can get on board with this. But then you take it the extra step where you're like, now let me tell you like, you know, why everything is not perfect, but you know, I become a little bit arrogant. That's the point. And every time I do that, I very quickly get humbled. Okay, it happens every time. And I'm glad because I learn from it and I am learning from it. And it's a process and I don't run from it. Dude, being humbled and making mistakes and learning from mistakes is the last thing I will ever do. I am in pursuit of trying to be better, right? Like just like most of you are. I would assume most of you listening to this, just like anybody else out there. I don't know who doesn't want to do that. And so it does require a fair amount of being humbled and learning. And I just felt the need to say that because I think it's true. I think it's true that like, and I think it's true because I see it more clearly now. You know, you just mentioned like Xbox-centric YouTubers or people on Twitter, and it's like, I don't mean to keep talking about Xbox, and I don't plan to anymore after this, but it is true that like they had a great E3. They bought Bethesda, and just the entire energy surrounding Xbox has went into a positive direction. And then the people who are the biggest enthusiasts, the people who are the biggest supporters, they do the same thing. They get on their high horse and they're like, yup, here we are, baby. Time to crack some skulls. You know what I mean? And it's like, all right, you know, I want to get off of this cycle of get on the high horse, be arrogant, get knocked off, get, you know, and be like, oh, that sucked. I thought I was going to stay on there. And it's like, well, dude, get back on the high horse. And I'm like, no, I just want to enjoy, I just want consistency. I want consistency. And there is no consistency to be had in hyperbole. There you go. There's the quote I'm going to end it with. There is no consistency to be had in hyperbole. I'm going to put that on a shirt. All right. Primal Plasma. Although I do enjoy these rants, I gotta admit, it's really fun. I appreciate you guys chilling with me while I basically just have this cathartic session of rants. But Primal Plasma, you're saying MBG, I know, right? Finally, Xbox is doing the right thing. I do think that they're doing a lot of things right now. Not everything. I'm still not convinced with everything, but all right. iSiler18, you're saying ever since the PS3 Slim alongside God of War 3, Uncharted 2, it's been nothing but quality and quantity. It took many years for Sony to get where they are now. The praise is deserved, and it doesn't happen overnight. You're exactly right, man. Almost incoherent MBG, but I agree with the sentiment. Yeah. I know. Sometimes I got to keep reeling it back. That's just that's basically the definition of MBG. But you are right, iSiler. It does take a long time. It does take effort, and it doesn't happen overnight. KD, you're saying Xbox fanboys in the comment section of a PlayStation podcast / YouTube channel is the definition of rent-free LMAO. Don't sweat these guys, MBG. You winning out here. No, I get it, man. I understand that, like, the fact that I continue to talk about it and bring it up, they perceive that the same way. Like, they're living rent-free in my head. And it's not that they're living rent-free in my head. It's not like I'm thinking about it all the time. It's just when I do go on, YouTube or Twitter and I engage with it, I do see it. I do see certain things, and I can't not see certain things. And so I do start to think about it a little bit, like, like, was I wrong? Was I right? What's going on here? Basically sort it out. But I appreciate that, buddy. Damon, you're saying, screw the haters and liars, keep speaking the truth unapologetically. Yeah, I'm not going to apologize for speaking the truth, man. Nobody should. If you are actually speaking the truth and you are speaking facts, you have to be unapologetic about it. That's, again, I've learned the hard way through people basically being like, dude, you're not seeing clearly. You're not seeing, you're losing the forest for the trees. And they did not tell me in a very nice way. They're sure to let me know. And you look like a complete moron. And I'm like, okay. Like, I hear you. It doesn't feel good to, learn the hard way sometimes, but we have to. It is worth. Sometimes you have to be unapologetic when it comes to facts and speaking the truth. And you can't necessarily, like you say, like, facts don't care about your feelings, nor should they. They are facts. They have their place. They're meant to, help us garner a better understanding. Leo Jimmy, you're saying, listen, MBG, PC is a great platform, but I don't care. Never cared. Never will care. Screw PC. Can't think of one game I wish was on consoles. And that's the thing. It's like, dude, I'm not, I don't think any of us are out here looking at PC players being like, why don't you play on console, bro? Huh? You got any, why? Huh? Why don't you go play on console? Like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm just like, dude, go play where you want. Like, I'm not going to ask you why you play on PC. Don't ask me why I play on console. Let's just play, Like, that's all it is. That's all it is, dude. Solid Crusader 89, you're saying, hey, BG, do you think PS5 will get a VRR update this November or December? Sources are pointing out December, and people talking about a 4K dashboard are just dumb. You talk about games, not a dashboard. No, I agree. It's just one of the smaller things, one of the many different aspects of, hey, we're covering a console. Here are all the different aspects to it. Here's the competition in their console, right? Sometimes it is necessary to talk about, but it's not something worth, like, it shouldn't. I even said it in my video, like, dude, don't buy a console based off of whether or not a dashboard is 4K. Like, don't let that be the decision maker. That's not how you should go about it. And I agree totally. It's just one thing you should consider. But as for VRR, I don't know that we're going to get VRR in November, December. What I will say is it would be great timing for Sony to do so. Mainly, the way I see it is because I think Sony's going to be relatively quiet through November and December. I mean, they might not be. I'm just assuming that they're going to be quiet because they don't have any major game releases. But it's stuff like that where it's like, okay, you don't have any games coming out right now. There's no events or anything. You just did your state of play. Maybe now release the VRR. Get people. It'll keep people talking about PlayStation. Is what I'm trying to say. It'll keep them in the headlines. So I think it would be a good time for them to do it. I don't know that they will, but a lot of people want it, and I have to imagine it's going to come at some point. Space D, you're saying, at the end of the day, you're a cool PS guy. You guys hear that? Space D. Space D said it. He said, I'm a cool PlayStation guy. I mean, come on, if Space D's saying it, then I'm doing something right, right? At least something. MBG, you're going to play Forza Horizon 5 on your 3070, or are you going to skip it? It's a tough question, man. Like, I will tell you right now up front that I'm not planning on playing it at launch or any time around launch, mainly because I have, there's just, my time has been somewhat limited. There's holidays coming up, a lot of things going on. Family comes first, all that good stuff. And obviously I'm running the YouTube channel full time. At least I'm trying my best to. And it's just like, I have to find ways to play games where I enjoy it, you know? I have to find ways to play games at appropriate times where I'm enjoying them. Because I don't know if you guys experience this. Like, you guys have, I'm sure many of you do, but let me know because I'm interested. It'll make me feel better. You want to play games, but it has to be under the right conditions, right? Like, I'm not somebody. You know how like there are some people like they can do anything in any conditions, like they can whip out a book in the middle of like a crowd of just things going on, and they can just hone in on that book and just focus in on it, and they can enjoy it just as much as if they were in a perfectly quiet environment. I'm not like that. Like when I sit down to play a game, my focus has to be on that. And if there's other things that I have to do, responsibilities or things I have to get taken care of, or there's just things going on around me, I can't enjoy that game as much. And because I know I'm not going to enjoy it as much, it feels pointless to try to play it. So, and it's also a matter of balancing. I have all these games. My backlog is growing, guys. It's growing. And Forza Horizon 5 is just going to have to be one of many games because I want to play Deathloop. I want to play Kenna. I've been playing Back 4 Blood, although I don't know how I feel about it. Maybe I'll talk about that another time or at the end of this. But I've been playing that because that was a game I told myself, like, I want to make time to play this game no matter what. I'm a huge Left 4 Dead fan. I don't know that Back 4 Blood is capturing the Left 4 Dead feel very well, though. I don't know. Do I understand the story of Control? Absolutely not. I don't think anybody does. But hopefully that answers your question, man. Let me see. That wasn't even a super chat either. I'm only saying that because now I'm getting... Okay. Zanarkand Blitzer, congratulations on the 3 months, bud. Really appreciate you being a member. At Play Has No Limits, you're saying you streaming the State of Play live. Also, don't like the actor choices for Nate and Sully for the Uncharted film. Oh my God, dude, I totally forgot to add that as a topic. Oh, we have to talk about that before this podcast is over. Absolutely. Nathan Fillion would have been a good choice for Nate. Keep hydrated, MBG. Yeah, I do got to keep hydrated. These rants, man, they're just, they're dehydrating. You're saying what's not to understand about Control? To be honest, I'm going to be totally honest with you, man. I don't remember the story of Control very well. I just remember it was weird and bizarre, and that's what I remember about it. I would have to, I think, replay it to kind of get a better to kind of refresh myself. KD, you're saying, LOL, you misinterpreted me. I said you were living rent-free in your haters' heads if you got them tuning in. Either way, keep spitting these facts, fam. No, dude, no, I know. I apologize. I probably should have acknowledged the fact that I as a PlayStation, not even just a PlayStation content creator, but if you're out here and you're talking a lot and you're saying things, you're going to have people where you're going to live rent-free in their head. And I am living rent-free in people's heads as well. There are literally people that are like, I have literally carved out a spot in some people's heads, and I don't want to. I'm not trying to. Where when a piece of news, a piece of not so good news, or like this God of War PC announcement, the first thing they come is, oh, I wonder how MBG is gonna feel about this. Like, bro, like really, like I'm the first person that, I mean, I'm flattered, I am, but I'm the first person that pops up in your mind. And it's because you're hoping that like I'm having a meltdown or something. Like, come on. I get it. People do this for content. I understand. Like, oh, I'm gonna dunk on this guy and my followers, they're gonna be like, yeah, bro, keep going. Yeah, this shit's funny. I get it. It's a flavor of content. It's not one that I respect. Nor is it one that I enjoy, but there are people who like it. There are people who do it. And it's just kind of what happens. And I understand that on Twitter, it's real bad, dude. Dude, on Twitter, I gotta walk on eggshells, bro. I gotta be like, yo, there's like landmines everywhere. And I'm like, uh-oh. And it's not that I'm worried about upsetting people, but I don't care. I'm not trying to upset people. It's just, the problem is when you gain, when you have people that they do not have your best interest in mind, like they actually are rooting against you, you do have to watch your back, because they will try to take you down any way they can. And it's not that most of the stuff they do, it's not bothersome. It's the malicious intent behind it that's bothersome, because you realize that, like, I don't know, like, if I were to meet this person in person, like, would they really have a problem with me, like, to the point where they would want to attack me or something? It does kind of start to get to that level where it's like, would we throw hands? You know, is this gonna happen over games? Like, because I'm not like that. Like, I don't give a shit at all. You know, like, dude, do your thing, man. But it's just the way it is. It's the way it is, and people say that. Oh, and I don't mean to keep going on. This is the last thing I say, I promise. They always say, like, dude, MBG, you're just a clout chaser. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. I'm not kidding. Like, I don't know what I need somebody somebody explain to me, what does that mean? Are you saying I want attention? Are you saying that I want people to watch? I'm being serious. I don't know what it means. Because the only thing I care about is getting people to tune into my content, but not by any means necessary. People don't understand that, like, if that's the way it was, if it was just about attention, you think I would be sitting here talking about PlayStation when there are things out there that are way more popular than PlayStation? This is what I don't get. I'm trying to see what clout, saying anything for views to draw attention. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, there are definitely times where I'm like, I think this title is a little bit too spicy, or this topic, or maybe, I don't know. I know that this is going to upset some people or create unnecessary conversation. It's like, so I'm not, okay, that makes more sense. I have definitely been, I guess, a clout chaser at times, but not these days, man. Like, I don't know. Again, I feel like I've been humbled, and it's like, and I'm saying this because I see people come out here and I see what they're doing and the type of content they're making, and I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, what they're doing seems a little bit more clout chasey than what I'm doing. But hey, I could be wrong. You know, I'm just saying that's kind of how I'm seeing it. Let me see. Okay, so we have a few. Rashdam, you're saying, I lean Xbox, PC, Nintendo, but I agree with 100% with some of your takes when it comes to Microsoft. The hardcore Xbox and PS fanboys give us all a bad name. Just play games you want to play. Yeah, I mean, it can be tough sometimes, because when you start to, as a content creator, when you start to see people supporting the things you're saying and doing, it becomes very easy to continue to just do them and not think about it. And that's the problem. You see that on Twitter. You see that everywhere. Do you ever see, like, people say, like, Twitter isn't a real place. Like, Twitter's like a cesspool, and it comes off like that. And so do some YouTube channels and places, and people view my channel that way, because people start to realize that you can, like, there is a problem with what you're saying. Like, it's not really good, but if you have enough people around you supporting you and saying, no, keep going, you'll do it without thinking. And then the only thing that matters is appeasing and pandering. And I don't want to do that. And I try not to do that. Like, I don't go on these rants because I feel like, oh, well, hey, people are going to enjoy these rants and it'll get the views. That doesn't, like, I'm not doing it for anybody. The truth is, and this is just the honest truth, I literally go into my podcast being like, all right, I'm not going to rant today. Like, I'm just going to keep it cool. It's going to be professional. Like, it's going to be great, and then I end up just ranting. And it's like, because that's just how I am sometimes, man. Like, that's just the real me. Not saying that I'm not being real when I'm not ranting, but you understand what I mean, Like, you go into something, you're like, all right, this is going to go fine. It's going to go off that hitch. It's going to be chill. And then before you know it, yeah, the test kicks in. Siler saying you've been a target since you switched to PlayStation and angered a lot of people weirdly. And that's why I'm here. It made you a very genuine content creator in my book. Well, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, that's always, I always found it weird that people hang on to that. It's like, people are like, oh, Xbox lives in this dude's head. It's like, yeah, Xbox does live in my head. Like, I've spent many years playing Xbox and was very heavily invested in Xbox. Like, why wouldn't I still be paying attention to Xbox to a certain extent? You know what I mean? But I appreciate that, man. Question mark is saying, what's up, buddy? I see that you're close to 100,000 subs. Congratulations in advance. So what are you going to do once you are there? I don't know. I don't know. I see somebody saying 100K bug snack streaming coming. I don't know if I have any plans. I mean, it seems like it's going to be a little while till we get there, which is fine. I don't mind waiting, and it's not a race, but I don't know. To be honest, I haven't put much thought into it. I'll have to think about it. All right, guys. I feel like this podcast definitely went off the rails, so we have to get back on point here and get back on topic. Okay, so just to close out this topic and move on to the next, this is what Matt Booty said. I think it's a good thing. He's basically just acknowledging PlayStation makes great games. These games that PlayStation makes garner a lot of attention. They're big tentpole titles, and they're games that pretty much everybody can enjoy, and they want to do the same thing. They want their games to reach that same level. I think that's a fantastic thing, and I don't care how they choose to do that. I just think it's great. The next topic in line, this is going to be very brief, but God of War, as we said, has sold 19.5 million copies. I feel as though one thing I want to mention with this is not the fact that that's an incredible number. We already talked about that in one of my videos, but is that enough for Sony? Is 19.5 million enough for Sony? I think the answer to that is no. I'm interested to see how many millions of copies, if it even reaches millions of copies sold, that God of War sells on PC, because I have to wonder what Sony's expectation is for God of War on PC. They come out, they say, we sold 20 million of this. That's crazy. Selling 20 million of an exclusive game on an install base with 116 million, that's huge. That's absolutely colossal. And most publishers would be thrilled. That's what's fascinating to me, is most publishers would be more than satisfied being like, yo, 20 million, that's a mega hit. Like, we're counting the money now. Like, no, Jim Ryan, he's like, but I want more, and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, hey, I appreciate the hustle, man, the ambition, go for it. You want 50 million sales. Now, what's interesting is the way Jim Ryan worded it. He said that he didn't say 20 million sales. He didn't say 30 million. He said people playing the game. But I feel like he's definitely talking about sales too, right? Like, it just sounds less egregious and it sounds more humanized to just say people playing the game. And so I don't know if they think they're going to sell maybe another 5 million on PC or maybe 3 million. But if you think about it, okay, so Jim Ryan says we would like to one day get to a point where hundreds of millions are playing our games. And I'm just putting it out there, man, because I think it's just logic. I don't think you're going to reach a point where 100,000 people are playing your games if your plan is to release those games on PC years after they've already been out. I just, how is that possible? You know what I mean? I don't think that's possible at all. I don't think that suddenly 50 million PC players are now going to buy God of War. If that happened, I'm sure Sony they wouldn't abandon PlayStation consoles, but they'd be like, PC's our main platform now, but that's not going to happen. I think that at most you're going to get maybe a couple more million sales. And if it really exceeds expectations, if it really does good numbers, dude, maybe 4 or 5 million sales, that'd be huge for a game as old as God of War at this point. But the point is that's nowhere near 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 million people. So I guess I just have to really wonder, this is where I have to be honest. The one thing I don't like about Sony is how they will not show their hand. And by that, I mean, they're not going to reveal their plan. Maybe it's from a business perspective, it's probably a smarter thing to do. But as a fan and an enthusiast, I just would like to know, Jim Ryan, if you're going to come out here and say you want to achieve 100 million players, Do you think you could maybe elaborate just a little bit on how you plan to do that? Like, are you, you know what I mean? And I guess, like, again, it's from a business standpoint, it's smarter not to do that. But I know in poker, you never show your hand. I know that. But it's what makes it so tough because I don't know, like, I don't know what, like, I mean, Jim says we're not doing a Game Pass like model. That doesn't work for us, you know? You're saying MBG in the interview, he said exactly how he's going to do it. Well, I mean, could you elaborate on that? Maybe I mean, dude, I don't know. I'm all over the place, man. Maybe did I miss something? Okay, mobile. Oh, all right. Oh, you know what? You guys, I think you're, okay. I see where you guys are getting at. You're right. Maybe I'm so focused on the idea of a triple A mobile. Yeah, my bad. You guys are right. No, I don't know why I just totally didn't think of that. You're right. That's it. It's not PC, and it's not releasing a triple A God of War on PC specifically. It is mobile. Okay, you're right about that. I got to stop putting my hand up to the camera like that. I keep doing that. So here's a question I have for you guys before we move on to the next topic. Okay, here's a question. If we can all come to the general consensus that, yes, I am Italian actually, yeah. If we can come to the general consensus that, okay, Jim Ryan was mostly talking about mobile because of the wide reach that mobile has. Everybody, pretty much almost everybody has a smartphone, right? In what form do you think they're going to deliver that? We know that Sony's going to be releasing standalone mobile games, but what's interesting is Jim in that interview, he talked, like, when he gave his reasoning for like why 20 million isn't enough, they want to reach 100 million players. His reasoning he gave was because these are amazing pieces of art. We're creating some of the best art, referring to their games in the world. And I agree. And it should be enjoyed by more people. But my question with that is, well, okay, so let's take God of War. Yes, that is one of the best pieces of art ever made. It's fantastic. How do you get that to mobile? Like, is he talking about cloud? Is he talking basically about like PlayStation's version of xCloud, right? That's one avenue. But then again, we do know that Sony has a whole team set up to lead specific mobile, like a mobile initiative to make mobile specific PlayStation games based off of PlayStation IP. So are you talking about a mobile version of God of War? What does that look like? How does that even work? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is where even if we do kind of, hone in on, okay, all right, so, we're talking about mobile. That's one way to do it. But, like, how so? I don't know. I do think that Sony's plans are somewhat in flux, and that's why we don't know about them. I just shook my desk a little bit. So, the point, like, I'm not a fan of mobile. I don't know. Like, my thing with PlayStation approaching mobile, my thing with that is I really hope that they keep it kind of separate. Completely separate, honestly. I hope they keep it separate from, their main PlayStation lineup. And I say this because, dude, I was very hard on Microsoft when I saw a couple years ago that, like, we're making, you guys remember that game Gears Pop and Forza Street? And I'm like, no, like, I'm just, please no. And I was like, this is a joke, Xbox. Like, why are you making games like this? And to me, it felt bad. It felt like bad timing. You know what I mean? Like, you're trying to get your regular AAA games, your bigger games, you're trying to get them back on track. Why are you focused on mobile? It makes a little bit more sense why Sony's focused on mobile, because it's like, well, we are doing great. We're selling 20 million copies of our AAA games. So I guess we can start to try to do mobile. But even then, I'm like, Sony, like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't like mobile gaming. I just don't like it. It's the antithesis of what premium end, high end gaming is. And I just worry about Sony putting resources into that. Like, yeah, it will expose the IP to more people, but at what cost potentially? I know people are gonna be like, you're fear mongering. Like, I'm not. I don't like mobile games, so I just don't want to see any of these companies focusing on them. Like, dude, I put a lot of time into PUBG, and I know gaming is different for different people, and I get that, but I played a lot of PUBG, right? And there is a PUBG mobile game, and I remember I came across something like, what the? I'm like, this looks like this looks like a really dumbed down version of. Hey, yo, PUBG is a decent game, man. But maybe not anymore, but it was for a while. It's a really good game. But I remember I came across the mobile version. I'm like, this is not the PUBG experience I know. And that's pretty much how it works, you know? It's fine. I mean, it's like, here's the fear. You ready? The PUBG audience, I think, for mobile, I don't know if this is correct or not, but if I'm not mistaken, I think it's like significantly bigger than the regular game. And I think because of that, it gets more attention. And like, that's my ultimate fear. You know, people call me a fear monger, but that's a fear that Xbox fans should have as well. Like, you don't want Sony to make a mobile PlayStation game that suddenly has more players than any game they've ever made on console, because then it's going to get a lot of attention. And Sony's going to look at that as like, yo, that's where we make our money. And then suddenly it's like, oh, you know, like that's not what we want. Anyway, we're going to move on to the next topic. I am going to have to be quick here because I do have other topics I want to get through. Next topic in line. We finally have a release date for the Grand Theft Auto Definitive Trilogy. It's releasing digitally on November 11th. Physical release will be on December 6th. It's priced at $60. How do we feel about this collection and what Rockstar Games has done with it? It's also worth pointing out that GTA 3 Remastered is hitting PlayStation Now on December 7th, and it will be the PS4 version. And GTA San Andreas Remastered is hitting Xbox Game Pass on launch. So that's a big get. Pretty significant get for Game Pass, but a lot of people were asking me my thoughts on this. I tried to make a video on this, and I got really annoyed because Take-Two Interactive, they don't let you. I don't know how people. I see other YouTubers use their content in their trailers, and I don't know how they do it, because anytime I use trailers from Rockstar, they get copyright claimed, and I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. But it's only with them, so I was just like, forget it. Caponos, you're saying 120 hertz on an iPhone is amazing. I've waited so long. I'm glad to hear you're happy, buddy. Chris B, you're saying if they go with the way Nintendo is attempting it, like Mario Run, I'm less worried. I don't think they are, though, man. I don't think they are. I think Sony is trying to basically do this thing where it's like, if you look at Call of Duty has like their mainline console PC games, and then they have Call of Duty Mobile. And I guess maybe if Sony scales up high enough for it, then there is no worry. Just to touch on that for a moment, if Sony like grows their business and their mobile division, and it's just completely separate from their regular games division, and it's not taking anything away from it, then it should be fine. You know, there's always a little bit of worry of too much crossover there, but it should be fine if they remain separate. We've seen it work. That's the point. We have seen it work. But getting back to the GTA trilogy, I think, I don't know. I think $60 based off of what we're seeing is a fair price, right? It's still better than Flopsa. Yeah, every week with the Flopsa. I think $60 for the GTA trilogy is fine. I think that if you look at what they've done with it, it looks pretty good. It's pretty substantial, and it make like that's kind of what I was expecting. It's pretty much exactly what I was expecting. You're saying, why can't you buy the game separately? I don't know. I mean, they want to be able to get that full 60 from you. So I don't know. It's like, for me, I played GTA 3 and Vice City and San Andreas on PS2, and I remember that those were some of, like, I was definitely way too young to be playing them, but I enjoyed them, and you know, they're very nostalgic for me. So it's hard to look at this trilogy and be like, you know, but I feel just like, I feel like I want to play it, but I also kind of feel like, I don't know, I'm probably not going to enjoy it. But I kind of wanted to just mention this because I'm really curious what you guys think about it. I don't know. I just don't like the direction that Rockstar Games has went in general. I really don't. I feel like Rockstar Games just literally gave up on making games. They just stopped. And I know that like people, you have to understand from a business perspective. Look, I get it, but I don't care. Like I don't care how much money they're making. I'm not, that doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is what I care about is they stopped making games. They stopped making games. Rockstar, the last game they put out was Red Dead 2, and it was just like on another level. And it's like, I guess we're just done now. Like I guess we're just not going to get GTA 6. And if we do, it's like, I don't know. My hope is that if we do get GTA 6, we're going to have to at some point. I hope it's worth the wait, man. Because the longer we go, like the less I kind of care when it comes to Rockstar. Like, you're saying, did they really stop? Red Dead Redemption 2 came out a few years ago. Well, I mean, it just seems like Rockstar's new approach is we're going to make a game. And I understand that if you want quality that high, it's going to take time. I have no problem with that. But we're going to make a game. It's going to take many, many years. We're going to release it. But then it seems like they're like, let's be real. Red Dead Online, I think, failed. And I think that Rockstar, that is, were fully expecting Red Dead Online to be a big hit like GTA Online. And it just wasn't. I remember that they practically gave it out for free for like $5 or something. And it's like, see, that approach sucks so much. Like, no, like just, why can't you just be happy with the fact that your game sold like 20 plus million copies or something more than that, either like 26 or something, some number like that. I mean, you had the top people who founded your company leaving because it's just, you're not focused on making great games anymore. You're focused on making cash cows. You're focused on finding the next money printer. And I just can't stand that. And I hate that. And that's why I think people are so concerned about Sony going into multiplayer gaming so heavily, because let's be real, that's what they're looking for too, man. We can't ignore that. That's what Microsoft's looking for. That's what every big publisher is looking for. They want their own GTA Online. They want their own Fortnite. And I can't stand it because it's like, this is the risk with those games. It's like, well, what's wrong with Fortnite? Isn't Fortnite a good game? Isn't that why people like it? And GTA Online, and it's like, it started as something good and it started as something great, but then it became so successful that suddenly that's all the company is focused on. They're not doing anything else. It's this one game now. It's their cash cow. It's their money printer. And I just like the situation where maybe the thing that prints your money is making a bunch of really good games. You can have a great online component. I'm just saying, it's like GTA Online can exist with more games coming out from Rockstar. Rockstar used to put out games, man. Take-Two Interactive. You know what I'm saying? Like, one shouldn't have to come at the expense of the other. So if like Sony does make a really successful, if they make a really successful multiplayer game that's making them more money than any of their games ever have, I hope to God that doesn't mean Sony's just going to stop making games. Like, just keep making games. You know what I mean? Maybe they got Stiffmeister saying maybe they got a little butthurt because Red Dead 2 didn't win Game of the Year. I mean, I made a video, dude. I was covering Xbox at that time very heavily, and even I talked about that. And I was like, let me tell you why God of War deserved to win Game of the Year over Red Dead 2. And I played both of those games. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that has anything to actually do with it, but yeah, the GTA trilogy. I don't know. It feels like a cash. Like, I think it's great. It's nice. It's great to see these games. I don't know, man. It just feels like when it comes to Rockstar, it's like, and everything they're doing, I don't know. It would just be nice to get a little something new. Doesn't have to, like, can we get Max Payne 4 maybe? I would love that. That'd be great, but I don't think we're ever going to get that. A new IP? I don't know. Maybe make a new IP. Is that a possibility? I don't know that it is. But yeah, so my thoughts on Call of Duty, pass. I played the beta for Vanguard and I did not like it at all. So I still play some Black Ops Cold War occasionally. We were playing Infected. That was pretty fun. So I'll probably just stick with playing that occasionally. That's pretty much it. I don't like Vanguard. All right, so the final topic I want to talk about, because I said to myself I was going to get through every topic. Elden Ring has officially been delayed to February 25th, 2022. And while this isn't a big deal and it's fine, February is looking insane when it comes to the amount of game releases. It will be overwhelming, to say the least. And so I want to just take a moment here. Let me bring up these releases. Okay, I want to look. I want to look right now, okay? Here's February. Well, here's January. January, you're looking at Monster Hunter Rise. I think on PC, God of War on PC. So January is pretty bland. Like, there's like not much releasing in January of 2022. You have Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Extraction. That's going to flop. Here's February. Life is Strange Remastered Collection. And this is in order of release. Dying Light 2, Stay Human. Dynasty Warriors 9, Empires. The King of Fighters. What Roman numeral is that? I don't know. Just a new King of Fighters game. Relayer, Token, Ranbu Warriors, Horizon Forbidden West, Destiny 2, The Witch Queen, Monarch, Sifu, Seto Corsa, Crystar, Elden Ring, Saints Row, Dragon Quest 10 Offline, Kaiju Wars, Blood Bowl 3, Evil Dead the game. Oh my god, I forgot Evil Dead the game is coming out. I thought that looked great. How am I going to play these games? Guild Wars 2, End of Dragons, Vampire the Masquerade. Dude, that's all. And then right after that, on March 4th, GT7. All of that in like basically a single month. Are you kidding me? That has to be a joke, right? Like, that has to be a joke. How is anybody supposed to even enjoy that? Like, for me, the biggest gut punch about the Elden Ring delay wasn't the fact that it was delayed. It was like, holy shit, this game's going to release 1 week after Horizon? Like, I'm over the top excited for both of these games, and now, like, I'm gonna have to fight to figure out how, you know what I'm saying? It's a good problem to have, and it is literally the definition of a first world problem. I understand that, but man, between the time and the money, it's like, and that's just February, dude. Sifu, Horizon, Elden Ring, Dying Light. How am I going to do it? I don't know how I'm going to do it. I mean, come on, we have to all agree. One of these, like, why can't Dying Light? Come on, guys, you can't push it up by like a week or two in January. You know what? Screw it. Just release it just a little bit unfinished in January. I'll wait for the patch. I just need to start playing the game. I don't care. I'll never advocate for that, but man, that is sounding better than being completely overwhelmed with all of these games. It's too much. It's too much. Absolutely too much, man. Same thing with Elden Ring. Dude, just keep your January Elden Ring date. I'll play it a little bit unfinished. It's fine. It's fine. You can just patch the game and I'll accept it. It's fine, because at least I'll be able to start playing it. I'll get a head start, you know? Oh, man. Release it in early access. I don't care. I don't know, dude. It's so crazy to me. I just had to take a moment to express that, because when I was looking at 2022, I mean, it's Pegasus, you're saying you're going to buy them all. You're going to buy them all. Yeah, dude. Yeah, hundreds of dollars. Kevin, you're saying we wanted more games. Yeah, we did, right? We did. You know what? You're right there. What I just read, all those releases for February, we're feeling the effects of the pandemic truly now, where I believe it was Phil Spencer who said, like, oh, we're feeling the effects on the game development side right now of the pandemic, but wait until, like, you know, everything is done and getting close to being finished. It's going to be crazy. He was basically saying you're going to start to feel it in 2022. And I'm like, I remember when I first heard Phil say that, I'm like, nah, dude, like, we're in the thick of it now. What are you talking about? I didn't realize he was talking about game releases. You say you bet Guerrilla's delaying Horizon. I know this is going to sound crazy to people, but you know what, dude? Maybe that would be better. I don't know, dude, because I'm just saying, it's like, obviously for me, Horizon Forbidden West is going to take priority with all the games coming out, but I think I would be okay, man. Delay it by 2 weeks. I'll wait. It'll be easy to wait. I'll have plenty to play. You know, It is what it is. It's just, it feels like when I'm looking at February, I'm like, that's supposed to be like November. That's like a November lineup of games. And it's February. And I'm like, man, why? I think what drives me insane, like what really bothers me the most is like, you're saying MBG, you have to skip one of them temporarily. Yeah, I'm going to have to. What bothers me the most is the fact that you look at January and there's just like nothing going on or barely anything. And I'm like, I know that if the game's not ready, it's not. But man, that just sucks when there's like an entire 30 days of just waiting, and then boom, like it's like a silo after silo after silo. It's like, all right, Guardians in 2 days. I need it. Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to play that or not. Spacey, you're saying, okay, I read that one. You're saying Sony doesn't like launching games on a busy month. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's like people were saying, oh, Sony likes to avoid the holiday season because they're competing with so many games. And I'm like, well, look at February. I wouldn't be surprised if they delay it because of that. I mean, you're competing all over the place. Space Gambler Jr., congratulations on the 9 months, bro. You're saying, I already have a huge back catalog of games. I will get to them at some point. Yeah, there's no rush, I guess, right? But it's more like, it's not that there's a rush. It's that I want to be there day one for Elden Ring, but I don't want to do it in a way where it's like, I'm going to be here day one, and then I'm going to have to put it down and then go back to this game. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to approach games, as I said now, where I like to put the game in, sit down and be like, this is it. Like, this is the game that I am playing for the next however long. You know what I mean? Yeah. So day one fear of missing out. Yeah, it is, dude. Oh man. I don't know. I know this sounds crazy, but if Elden Ring gets delayed to like April, that'd be great. That'd be amazing. I know that to a lot of people, that's like, oh no, that's bad. But I'm like, no. Or Horizon, go ahead, go, just go. There's no need. I expect to see changes. You hear that, gaming industry, publishers? I expect to see changes in February. I absolutely do. I expect to see things spread out. Guys, do me a favor. We still have over 670 people hanging out here with me. Please hit that like button. Let's see if we can bump it up to 500 likes. I would really appreciate that. It does help the podcast out. I think we could easily get to 500 likes if everybody contributes. And we have Brandon Chad Perez. Congratulations on 12 months, man. It seems like you're going to get your final badge soon. You're saying, I forgot I had this. Has it really been a year already? Time flies. Yeah, dude, I appreciate it, man. I always appreciate my members, but there's always a little bit of an extra appreciation when I see the final PlayStation badge, the classic PlayStation logo, because that tells me you got, anybody who has that has been a member for a year, and that's a big deal, and that's big support. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it, man. But what's the next new release you're buying? The next game I plan to buy at launch is probably going to be something that comes out in probably Dying Light 2, but I don't know where I'm going to be at then either. So we'll have to see. But you know what, guys? That's going to do it for this episode of the podcast. I've said everything I could say. My throat is a little bit hoarse at this point. So, I hope you guys did enjoy it. I hope I didn't go off the deep end too much with my rant, but, it's just, again, doing this podcast to an extent is cathartic for me. And, I appreciate the support you guys show. You hear me at my lows, you hear me at my highs, and you're always here supporting, and it really means the world to me. So Siler18, you're saying, I have a feeling Elden Ring might need more work. Souls games are kind of rocky at launch. I think it will be delayed. I'm equally screwed on February, LOL. Yeah, I'll just say this last thing before I go. I hope that if there are any publishers that are like, we got to get it out in February, like, doesn't matter. Like, please understand, for the love of God, that like, no, you don't. Like, you really don't. If your game needs more time, by all means, please take the time. It's fine, or release it earlier, just not then. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much. A big shout out to Devil Shooter. Says loves the rants. Devil Shooter provides the timestamps for the community each week. It seems he puts a lot of hard work into it. And we are very much appreciative of that. He does it for the love of the community, and it's his way of supporting it. So big shout out to you, Devil Shooter. Really appreciate you doing that. Really do. And so that's episode 81 of Press X Podcast in the books. Definitely more to talk about this week than I was anticipating, but it still seems that when it comes to PlayStation, things are a little bit still low tide. And so we'll see how much we have to discuss after the stream of the State of Play. Oh, and I don't know if I answered the question that I was asked earlier by, I believe, Zanarkan Blitzer, I think. I will be streaming, if all goes well and according to plan, I will be streaming a live reaction to the State of Play. Magnum Visuals are saying MBG is the king of rants. I mean, hey, rants are fun, right? They're cathartic. That's why I like doing it. So, all right. That does it, guys. Episode 81 in the books. I'm going to go eat something and enjoy the rest of my Sunday. I hope everybody here enjoys the rest of your Sunday as well. We will reconvene here, same time, same place next week for episode 82 of Press X Podcast. But until next time, guys, take care.